Chapter 36:13. Everything happened too quickly. Even Qian Yuejin, Qian Qiu, and the other lesser deities only came back to their senses after Duan Lingtian and Qian Shuhuan had exchanged blows. As soon as they came back to their senses, they hurriedly blocked the water droplets that were shooting toward them. The water droplets shot out one by one at such a speed that only the few lesser deities could see them clearly. The group of beings who had yet to become gods could not even catch the trajectory of the water droplets. They could only hear the sound of the water droplets tearing through the air that was getting closer and closer. Why? It was because it was simply too fast. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. When the water droplets landed on the defensive light shield cast by the few lesser deities, it caused the defensive light shield to tremble, as though it could collapse at any time. During this process, all the lesser deities looked extremely solemn, as though they were facing a formidable enemy. Splat! Just as the storm in the eyes of the lesser deities present stopped, a crisp sound entered their ears, causing them to instinctively look toward the source of the sound. With just a glance, they saw the Qian family's elder ancestor, Qian Shuhuan, standing there with his face as pale as a sheet. His right arm had been chopped off at the shoulder. Fresh blood spurted out from it, and it took a while for the bleeding to stop. For a moment, Qian Shuhuan looked extremely disheveled. At the sight of this, they could not help but gasp. A higher deity was defeated by a lesser deity. Is this for real? If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it. In the entire Tunglung province, perhaps only the most outstanding young geniuses in Tunglung province could possibly possess the strength of a lesser deity. Even someone like Qian Shuhuan, right? Fortunately, just when the group of lesser deities, including Qian Yuejin, gasped and were indescribably shocked, Qian Shuhuan had also recovered from his fright. After taking a glance at his severed arm, not only was he not enraged, but he instead heaved a sigh of relief and revealed a smile of having survived a calamity. At the same time, when he looked at Duan Lingtian again, his face was full of reverence and he bowed. Thank you, young Master Duan, for showing mercy. Right now, Qian Shuhuan only felt that the clothes on his back were completely soaked. That was the cold sweat that came out of his body from the fright. At that moment, he thought he was dead for sure. However, he did not expect that at the critical moment, the remaining power of the spatial saber light would change direction in time and miss his vital point, cutting off one of his arms. He knew in his heart that the person opposite him had shown mercy. Now do you still want to capture me and send me to the Heaven Illumination sect, so they can punish me? In response to Qian Shuhuan's thanks, Duan Lingtian took a deep look at him, and the corners of his mouth curled into a mocking smile. Although this Qian Shuhuan was the strongest person he had encountered since coming to the Xiangang land this time, and was even a higher deity, his comprehension of the laws of nature was too inferior. Therefore, even if he only used the law of space that he had comprehended, he still easily defeated Qian Shuhuan. At the same time, he could not help but sigh inwardly. In the realms of gods, there were many deities who grew up with golden spoons in their mouths. However, due to their limited comprehension, they did not comprehend the laws of nature that were worthy of their cultivation base, even though their cultivation base was blessed by the heaven and earth spirit energy in the realms of gods. Any lesser deity who came to the realms of gods from the Devata realms could easily defeat or even kill an intermediate deity from a remote place in the realms of gods. Moreover, Duan Lingtian had defeated a higher deity today. Although his opponent did not use a divine weapon from the beginning until the end, did he use one? Moreover, his trump card was not as simple as a divine weapon. Young Master Duan, please don't make fun of me, Qian Shuhuan said with a wry smile on his face. With your innate talent and comprehension, as long as you're willing to join us, let alone the Heaven Illumination sect, even the strongest forces in Tunglung province would do their best to nurture you. However, I never imagined that after Lord Yi Beiyuan's beloved disciple perished 30 years ago, he would actually find such a monstrous disciple like young Master Duan. Looks like Lord Yi Beiyuan has profited from a disaster. When Qian Shuhuan finished speaking, he did not forget to flatter Duan Lingtian, as he lamented over his consecutive victories. Of course, although there was a hint of flattery, Qian Shuhuan's words were from the bottom of his heart. This was because Duan Lingtian was more outstanding than the strongest person among the younger generation in the Heaven Illumination sect. At the very least, that was what Qian Shuhuan thought if the rumors were true. After all, he had only heard of the prodigy from the Heaven Illumination sect, but had never seen him before. Does this mean you don't intend to interfere in this matter? Although Duan Lingtian could still hold his ground if he said he was not a disciple of the Heaven Illumination sect, Duan Lingtian had no intention of explaining himself. He was too lazy to waste his breath explaining himself. As long as the outcome was what he wanted, the process was not important. I won't interfere. I won't interfere. Qian Shuhuan shook his head repeatedly. At the same time, he glanced at the people from the Qian family, before his eyes finally landed on Qian Yuejin. His expression darkened as he said coldly, I didn't expect the Qian family to be so short-sighted. No matter who it is, as long as they offend you, young Master Duan, you can do whatever you want. Otherwise, all of you can forget about acknowledging me as your ancestor. As soon as he finished speaking, before the people from the Qian family could react, Qian Shuhuan bade farewell to Duan Lingtian and left in a hurry. He was afraid that this monstrous lesser deity would be enraged by Qian Fei and change his mind to kill him. Now he was already very lucky to be alive. As for the Qian family, although it was possible that Duan Lingtian would destroy them, he could not care less. In his eyes, his own life was far more important than his family. Qian Shuhuan left as quickly as he came. Almost immediately after Qian Shuhuan left, the people present regained their senses. The patriarch of the Meng family, Meng Mianyu, was the first to move. In a flash, he had already arrived behind Duan Lingtian. At the same time, he looked at the patriarch of the Qian family, Qian Yuejin, and shouted sternly, Qian Yuejin, if you and the Qian family really want to protect Qian Fei today, I, Meng Mianyu, and even the Meng family will destroy your Qian family. As soon as Meng Mianyu spoke, the expressions of Qian Yuejin and the people from the Qian family changed. At the same time, Sima Kongming, the sect leader of the Yinshan sect, and Zhao Yifeng, the sect leader of the Celestial sect, stood behind Duan Lingtian and glared at Qian Yuejin. Qian Yuejin, hand over Qian Fei, or the Yinshan sect will destroy your Qian family. Qian Yuejin, hand over Qian Fei, or the Celestial sect will destroy your Qian family. In Mountain Overlook City, the Qian family, the Meng family, the Yinshan sect, and the Celestial sect were the four strongest forces. Now, the leaders of the three forces were standing behind a young man, who was previously unknown in Mountain Overlook City. They were standing up for him, and jointly attacking the Qian family. At the same time, the Meng family mansion, whoosh, 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 three figures flew out of the Meng family mansion. They were two middle-aged men, and an old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion. It's the ancestor. Many members of the Meng family were shocked when they saw the old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion. The ancestor hasn't gone out for more than 100 years, right? Why did he suddenly go out today? The old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion was the only intermediate deity in the Meng family. Of course, the reason there was only one intermediate deity was not because the Meng family only had one intermediate deity and no one stronger. Instead, it was because the four forces of Mountain Overlook City had an agreement that higher deities were not allowed to interfere in the conflicts between the forces. Even among intermediate deities, only one intermediate deity could interfere. Therefore, each of the four forces only left one intermediate deity to oversee their clan or sect. The other intermediate deities and higher deities had all left their respective clans and sects to seek fortuitous opportunities in the outside world. This was because it was difficult for them to make any progress if they stayed in Mountain Overlook City. If they ventured out, they might still have a glimmer of hope of becoming a godly king. Even though no godly king expert had ever appeared in the history of the four forces, they still harbored great enthusiasm and hot-bloodedness to strive for the godly king realm. No matter who it was, once they became a godly king and returned, The force they belonged to would become the sole master of Mountain Overlook City. It was not just the Meng family mansion. The intermediate deities of the Cloud Morning sect and the Celestial sect had also left their respective sects and headed straight to the Qian family mansion after receiving the message from their respective sect masters. Master, we can't protect the second young master. Master, let the second young master bear the consequences of the trouble he created alone. He can't be a burden to everyone in the family. Master, at a time like this, one wrong step, and we'll be doomed eternally. To the Qian clan, the threat of the three major factions was nothing. They even ignored it. What they truly cared about now was the attitude of this purple-clad young man before them. After all, he was someone who had defeated even their Qian clan's higher deity ancestor. Perhaps, even their Qian family's strongest higher deity ancestor would only be able to fight him to a draw. Taking a step back, even if their Qian family's strongest higher deity ancestor had the ability to kill the purple-clad young man, he would not dare to do so. This was because the purple-clad young man was a disciple of the Heaven Illumination sect. Moreover, based on the talent and comprehension he displayed, he was definitely a prodigious disciple that the Heaven Illumination sect valued the most. If anything happened to such a prodigious disciple, the Heaven Illumination sect would seek revenge in a frenzy. That was not something the Qian family could afford. Upon hearing the Qian family's words, the Qian family patriarch, Qian Yuejin, had a bitter expression on his face. A hint of despair flashed across his eyes. He originally thought he had a chance to protect his most beloved son, but he did not expect that just as the flame of hope rose, it would be ruthlessly extinguished. Now, even if the Qian family did not plead for him, he would not be able to protect his son. Just as Qian Yuejin was about to look at his son, Qian Fei, three figures appeared like phantoms. Meng Jinhua of the Meng family greets young Master Duan. Yu Xuahan of the Cloud Morning sect greets young Master Duan. Ouyang Wudi of the Celestial sect greets young Master Duan. Accompanying the arrival of the three figures were three voices filled with respect and reverence. Chapter 36:14. A green-robed old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion stood there proudly, like an otherworldly expert. A young man in a snow-white robe had a handsome face, and a pair of eyes that seemed to have experienced the vicissitudes of life added a peculiar charm to him. A middle-aged man with a stocky back and a bear-like waist was dressed in a long grayish-brown robe. He had a square face and a pair of eyes that were as big as copper gongs, giving off an invisible deterrence. The three of them were three of the four strongest intermediate deities in Mountain Overlook City: Meng Jinhua of the Meng family, Yu Xuahan of the Morning Cloud sect, Ouyang Wudi of the Celestial sect. The three of them, and the intermediate deity of the Qian family. Although the people of Mountain Overlook City knew of their existence, they had not appeared in public for a long time. No one had expected three of them to appear at this time. Moreover, they appeared in a group. Young Master Duan. This is the Meng family's old ancestor, and also our intermediate deity. At the same time, Meng Ninyu, the patriarch of the Meng family, and the sect masters of the Morning Cloud sect and Celestial sect introduced the newcomers one after another. However, Duan Lingtian merely glanced at the three intermediate deities from the three major forces indifferently before he shifted his gaze away. At the same time, he looked at Qian Fei, who seemed to be in a daze or in a state of shock. He did not know if he was looking at Qian Fei mockingly. Qian Fei's eyes were empty and lifeless, as if he had lost his soul. He stood there without any reaction for a long time. It was more like he was scared out of his wits. Qian Wuliang, why haven't you come out to greet young Master Duan? Do you think he's not worthy of your greeting? The intermediate deity of the Celestial sect, Ouyang Wudi, suddenly spoke. His voice spread throughout the entire Qian family mansion in the blink of an eye. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, an angry voice came from within the Qian family mansion. Qian Wuliang, don't you dare slander me. As soon as the voice fell, a middle-aged man in a long blue robe appeared in front of everyone. Qian Wuliang of the Qian family greets young Master Duan. The middle-aged man had a medium build and an ordinary face. There was nothing special about him. After he appeared, He immediately bowed to Duan Lingtian. This Qian Wuliang was the intermediate deity of the Qian family. Ancestor. When Qian Wuliang bowed to Duan Lingtian, someone from the Qian family stood up and said angrily, Qian Fei killed the innocent and should be punished. Ancestor, please judge clearly. Ancestor, Qian Fei can't stay. Old ancestor, please investigate thoroughly. The members of the Qian family who spoke up now seemed to be afraid that the head of the Qian family, Qian Yuejin, would protect Qian Fei. They all pleaded with Qian Wuliang. Although Qian Wuliang wasn't the patriarch of the Qian family, he was the only intermediate deity in the Qian family in Mountainside City. Therefore, his position in the Qian family was above that of the patriarch, and he played the role of a retired emperor. In the Qian family, he could still refute the family head's words. However, no one could refute his words and no one dared to. Young Master Duan. When Qian Wuliang looked at the clan leader of Qian clan, Qian Yujin, with a frown on his face, Qian Yujin knew even the old ancestor had misunderstood him. He quickly looked at Duan Lingtian and said respectfully, although Qian Fei is my son, he deserved to die for committing such heinous acts. Also, I Qian Yuejin failed to educate my son well. I'm willing to break one of my arms to comfort the souls of the Duan family's southern manor. Almost as soon as Qian Yuejin finished speaking, he raised his hand and chopped off his left arm. Swoosh! Fresh blood splattered all over Qian Fei's face. At this moment, Qian Fei shuddered and regained his senses. He looked at Duan Lingtian in fear and knelt down again. Young Master Duan, please spare my life. Please spare my life. I didn't kill anyone from the Duan family's southern manor with my own hands. It was Grandfather Qiu and the people from the Tai family village who did it. When they heard Qian Fei's words, everyone in the Qian family looked at him with disdain. Elder Qian Qiu must be blind to value him so much. Elder Qian Qiu was so nice to him. But in the end, he turned the tables on him. Ingrate. He's an ingrate. While everyone in the Qian family was feeling indignant for Qian Qiu sighed and stepped forward at the same time. He raised his hand and slapped Qian Fei's head, killing him and leaving his corpse intact. Then, he stepped into the air, and in front of everyone in the Qian family and Duan Lingtian, his body was completely enveloped by divine power. He then exploded and turned into ashes. After killing Qian Fei, Qian Qiu chose to commit suicide. From the beginning to the end, Duan Lingtian did not say that he wanted his life, but he still committed suicide. Of course, although Duan Lingtian did not say anything, he did not plan to let Qian Qiu go after Qian Fei died. If Qian Fei was the culprit, then Qian Qiu was an accomplice. This time, Duan Lingtian did not plan to let either of them go. Young Master Duan. At the same time, the Qian family patriarch Qian Yuejin, who was secretly discussing with Qian Wuliang through voice transmission, looked at Duan Lingtian with a respectful expression. He did not show any dissatisfaction that his most beloved son had died because of this person in front of him. Please wait for a moment. As soon as he finished speaking, Qian Yuejin left under the puzzled gazes of Duan Lingtian and the others. When Qian Yuejin returned again, it was already more than 10 breaths later. He respectfully handed a storage ring in his hand to Duan Lingtian. Young Master Duan, there are 30,000 divine stones inside. It's a token of our Qian family's sincerity. Qian Yuejin was just discussing with Qian Wuliang whether they could pay to get rid of this calamity, so that this malefic would forget his conflict and hatred with the Qian family. Even if Duan Lingtian did not touch the Qian family today, who knew if he would suddenly make a move on the Qian family in the future? Instead of waiting for the risk of being destroyed, it was better to pay a little money to get rid of this calamity. Thank you very much. Duan Lingtian did not decline the divine stones that Qian Yuejin handed over. The 30,000 divine stones showed the Qian family's sincerity. At the same time, it was also the first money he had earned after coming to the Xiangang land. From now on, I have nothing to do with the Qian family. Thank you, young Master Duan. Qian Yuejin quickly bowed. This was what he and the Qian family wanted. Although Qian Wuliang and the other members of the Qian family were a little pained to lose 30,000 divine stones, After hearing Duan Lingtian's words, they all felt that the 30,000 divine stones were worth it. Only by paying to get rid of this calamity could they ensure the safety of the Qian family. The Meng family patriarch, Yinshan sect patriarch, and Celestial sect patriarch looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Even the intermediate deities from the three clans looked astonished at this moment. They did not expect the Qian family to be so willing to pay 30,000 divine stones to get rid of this calamity. As forces of the same level, they knew that the Qian family could only take out a few tens of thousands of divine stones at most. It was almost impossible for them to take out more than 50,000 divine stones. But now they took out 30,000 divine stones at once. Young Master Duan. While the 6 people with the highest positions in the Meng family, Yinshan sect, and Celestial sect were shocked, the Meng family's divine alchemist, Meng Qiu, looked at Duan Lingtian and said respectfully, "I wonder if you have time to visit our Meng family?" In the past, Meng Qiu called Duan Lingtian Young Lingtian. However, after seeing Duan Lingtian's strength, he did not dare to call him that anymore, and changed the way he addressed him. All right. Just when the people of Yinshan sect and Celestial sect thought that Meng Qiu was going to be rejected, they saw Duan Lingtian nod and agree. Instantly, the eyes of the 2 sect masters turned red. Why did they not take the initiative to invite this young Master Duan? They stood behind this young Master Duan earlier and made things difficult for the Qian family. They even called their intermediate gods over. Why? Was it not to curry favor with this young Master Duan? But now, this young Master Duan was invited by the Meng family. This was not a good thing for their 2 sections. Young Master Duan, after asking for his ancestors' opinion, Sima Kongming, the sect master of Cloud Morning sect, was the first to speak. On behalf of Cloud Morning sect, I invite you to our encampment as a guest. Cloud Morning sect has already prepared 5,000 taels of divine stones as a meeting gift for you. As soon as Sima Kongming spoke, Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up. To him, there was not much difference whether he went to the Meng family or Yinshan sect. This was because he only wanted to learn more about the situation outside through them. Now he could get 5,000 divine stones if he went to Yinshan sect. Just when Duan Lingtian was about to agree to Sima Kongming's invitation, Zhao Yifeng, the sect master of Celestial sect, who had also received permission from his patriarch, spoke. Sima Kongming, do you look down on young Master Duan? You're only offering 5,000 divine stones? Our Sima family is willing to offer 10,000 divine stones as a meeting gift to invite young Master Duan to our Sima family as a guest. At the same time, Meng Qiu was also paying attention to the changes in Duan Lingtian's expression. When he saw that Duan Lingtian was slightly moved by the invitation of the 2 sects, he quickly contacted the Meng family leader and Meng family's patriarch through voice transmission. After getting permission from the 2 of them, he said to Duan Lingtian, "Young Master Duan, I forgot to tell you earlier. Our Meng family has prepared 20,000 divine stones as a meeting gift for you. We're waiting for you to pay us a visit." 20,000 divine stones. The moment the Meng family spoke, the expressions of the people from Yinshan sect and Celestial sect changed slightly. They did not expect the Meng family to be willing to offer so many divine stones to invite Duan Lingtian over. As the saying went, human relations are higher than the heavens. Young Master Duan standing up for a small village, like the Duan family's southern village, meant that he was definitely not a heartless person. If he was really roped in by the Meng family, it would undoubtedly be a disaster for their 2 sections. Young Master Duan, our Yinshan sect is willing to offer 25,000 divine stones as a meeting gift. The sect master of Yinshan sect spoke again. Young Master Duan, our Celestial sect. Just as the sect master of Celestial sect was about to speak, Duan Lingtian interrupted him. There's no need for all of you to argue. How about this? Each of the 3 sects can prepare 20,000 divine stones as a meeting gift. I'll take turns to visit all 3 of your sections. As Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, the entire place fell silent. Chapter 36:15. Forces like the 4 major forces of Mountain Overlook City were considered low-tier forces in the entire profound Handle land. However, it was precisely because they were low-tier forces that they did not have their own divine sense mines to mine. They could only exchange supreme-grade celestial crystals for divine stones in order to accumulate divine stone wealth. For a force like theirs, they also needed to spend a lot of money on everything. In the history of the existence of the four families, there were very few times when they had accumulated more than 50,000 divine stones. Now, regardless of whether they took out 20,000 or 30,000 divine stones, it would be a huge blow to any of them. The Qian family had taken out 30,000 divine stones because they were afraid the Heavenly Illumination sect's disciple would settle the score with them. As for the Meng family, Morning Cloud sect, and Celestial sect, they did not offend him so naturally. They did not need to spend money to settle the score. However, all of them wanted to curry favor with this Heavenly Illumination sect's disciple. He was a lesser god after all. Even if he was a greater god from Mountain Overlook City, he would definitely become a big shot in Tunglung province in the future. Now all of them wanted to establish a good relationship with him, so that they could dominate Mountain Overlook City. However, they did not expect Duan Ling Tian to say something like this. Duan Ling Tian suddenly said something like this when they continued to send out invitations and increase the amount of gifts. There's no need for all of you to fight. How about this? Each of your 3 clans will prepare 20,000 divine stones as a welcome gift. At this moment, they had the urge to vomit blood. Was the Heavenly Illumination sect's disciple so shameless? However, faced with Duan Ling Tian's words, it was impossible for them to refuse, or even say that they wanted to take back the meeting gift they had offered. This was because it would definitely cause Duan Ling Tian to be unhappy. This was a situation they did not want to see at all. The Meng family awaits young Master Duan's visit at any time. The Meng family's divine pill master, Meng Qiyu, forced a smile on his face as he spoke respectfully to Duan Ling Tian, under the strange gazes of the patriarch and ancestor of the Meng family. However, when he turned around and left with the rest of the Meng clan, his expression was not very good. 20,000 divine stones was almost half of the Meng clan's current wealth, but now they had to give it away. Moreover, it would not bring any substantial benefits to the Meng clan. It was not just the people from the Meng family. Even the people from the Cloud Morning sect and the Celestial sect felt the same way. When they left, they greeted Duan Ling Tian with smiles on their faces. But inside, they were crying. No, they were bleeding. Even though I can't go through young Master Duan this time and become the sole ruler of Mountain Overlook City, it's still worth it to use 20,000 divine stones to get acquainted with such a talented young man. On the way back, Meng Qiyu realized that the Meng family members weren't in high spirits. So he comforted them. Think about it. A genius like young Master Duan will definitely become a big shot in our Tunglung province when he grows up. When that time comes, we'll use this good karma to ask him for something. He definitely won't refuse. Besides, we only have the chance to curry favor with such a big shot now. When he grows up, it'll be impossible for us to curry favor with him again. When they heard Meng Qiyu's words, the mood of the Meng family members improved slightly. This was because it made sense. A person like young Master Duan was indeed someone they could not afford to look up to now, and would not be able to reach in the future. The people from the Cloud Morning sect returned to the Cloud Morning sect's encampment in silence. As for the people from the Celestial sect, they were led by the Celestial sect's old ancestor, Ouyang Wudi. He could not help but say, perhaps young Master Duan was just joking. He might not even come to the Celestial sect. If he doesn't come, we won't have to give him a greeting gift. Ouyang Wudi's words made the people from the Celestial sect feel lucky. However, when Duan Ling Tian walked into the Celestial sect's encampment a few days later, their hopes were completely shattered. 20,000 divine stones were given away just like that. Next stop, the Cloud Morning sect. Duan Ling Tian stayed in the Celestial sect for a few days before he made his way to the Cloud Morning sect's encampment. He had been staying in the Meng family for the past few days. In the Meng family, he had further speculated and understood some things. At the same time, he had a deeper understanding of the place he was in. Apart from that, he had also discussed the Tao of divine pills with the Ming family's divine alchemist Meng Qiyu. The pill refinement method in the realms of gods was undoubtedly more profound than the pill refinement method he had mastered in the Devata realms. It could even be said that it was on a completely different level. It was almost impossible for him to refine divine pills using the pill refinement method he had mastered in the past. I wonder who passed down such a profound pill concoction technique. At that time, Duan Lingtian could not help but sigh. Although Meng Qiyu was puzzled that Duan Lingtian did not know about this, he patiently explained. It seems like young Master Duan didn't chat with the divine alchemists in your sect. The pill refinement method in the realms of gods was comprehended by supreme powerhouses when they visualized heaven and earth and passed down. After countless years of deductions and changes, the pill refinement method has given birth to many branches. For example, the branch I'm good at is the fire gathering sect. It focuses on using the divine fire to forcefully suppress the essence of the medicinal herbs and condense them into pills. If the pills aren't formed, they'll turn into ashes. Of course, in this process, experience and skill are also important. During the last 2 days in the Meng family, Duan Lingtian listened to Meng Qiyu and gained a deeper understanding of the pill refinement method in the realms of gods. Although it was completely different from the pill refinement method in the Devata realms and the mundane realms, there were some similarities in some aspects. Duan Lingtian tested the pill refinement method in front of Meng Qiyu. Although his comprehension of the law of fire was not profound, and he did not have much experience in pill refinement, Meng Qiyu was still amazed. Naturally, Meng Qiyu was shocked not only by Duan Lingtian's talent in alchemy, but also by Duan Lingtian's attainment in the law of fire. Duan Lingtian's attainment in the law of fire was not inferior to his. In fact, Duan Lingtian did not usually comprehend the law of fire. Most of his comprehension of the law of fire was obtained in the secret chamber, in the tidal temple, in the Devata realms. During the few days in the Meng family, Duan Lingtian spent most of his time with Meng Qiyu. However, during the few days in the celestial sect, he wandered around the celestial sect's estate and secretly questioned some of the celestial sect's disciples. From there, he gained a deeper understanding of the area around Mountainside City and Tunglung Province. In the beginning, the people from the Cloud Morning sect did not take any chances. However, when Duan Lingtian did not come for a few days, many of them began to take chances. Was young Master Duan just joking that day? He did not intend to come to the Cloud Morning sect to collect a greeting gift. Sect leader, it seems like we were too serious. Young Master Duan was just joking. In the main hall of the Cloud Morning sect's estate, a Cloud Morning sect's lesser deity sat on the lower seat and smiled as he spoke to Sima Kong Ming, the sect leader of Cloud Morning sect. That's right. Another lesser deity nodded as well. I knew it. With young Master Duan's status, why would he covet a mere 20,000 divine stones? We've gauged the heart of a gentleman with our own mean measure. Sima Kong Ming nodded in agreement. The Heavenly Illumination sect's disciples are indeed noble. Almost as soon as Sima Kong Ming's words left his mouth, a voice resonated from outside at the right time. Sect leader, young Master Duan whom you told us not to neglect is here. We've arranged for him to stay in the courtyard of the first guest room in the East Wing. In the Cloud Morning sect, the guest rooms were divided into 2 areas. One was the East Wing, and the other was the West Wing. The West Wing was usually used to receive ordinary guests. The East Wing, on the other hand, was used to receive distinguished guests. If it was the other 3 great factions of power in Mountain Overlook City, even if they were the masters of their families and sects, even if they could stay in the East Wing, they could only stay in the courtyards after the second guest room. As for the first courtyard, unless they were existences above the level of higher deities, Cloud Morning sect would not receive them there. Duan Lingtian could be said to be the first guest in the Cloud Morning sect, who was only a lesser deity, to be received in the courtyard of the first guest room in the East Wing. Of course, the Cloud Morning sect leader had made such an arrangement many days ago because of Duan Lingtian's distinguished status and Duan Lingtian's strength. He was even stronger than the higher deities from Mountain Overlook City, such as Qian family's patriarch, Qian Shuhuan. Whether it was his status or his strength, Duan Lingtian was qualified to stay in the courtyard of the first east wing of the Cloud Morning sect. He's here. In the Cloud Morning sect's Great Hall, whether it was Sima Kong Ming, the sect leader, or the two Cloud Morning sect elders below him, their expressions changed drastically. It was an interesting sight to behold. Sima Kong Ming smiled wryly and said, "Looks like we overestimated the temptation of 20,000 divine stones." As for the two Cloud Morning sect elders, they could only smile wryly. They did not expect the slap in the face to come so quickly. Duan Lingtian, who was in the courtyard of the first guest room, in the east wing of the Cloud Morning sect, naturally did not know about the conversation between the three of them in the Cloud Morning sect's Great Hall. Presently, Duan Lingtian was leisurely lying on a rocking chair in the courtyard of the number 1 guest room, in the east wing of the Cloud Morning sect, and he was leisurely basking in the sun. Whereas at his side, a young girl that was dressed like a servant girl was helping him peel grapes before sending them into his mouth, whereas another servant girl was helping him massage his shoulders. These two maids were naturally arranged by the Cloud Morning sect to stay in the courtyard of the first guest room. Only the courtyard of the first guest room had such an arrangement. The two girls were not women of low birth. They were the descendants of two sect elders from the sect master of Cloud Morning clan. The reason they were allowed to stay here was because they wanted them to use their lifelong happiness as a price to develop a relationship with Cloud Morning clan. If Duan Lingtian took them with him when he left, it would naturally be related to the Cloud Morning sect. Chapter 36:16. Did you just say that you're the great-granddaughters of the Cloud Morning sect's elder? After Duan Lingtian ate another grape, he squinted his eyes and crossed his legs to bask in the sun, as he lazily asked the two young maidservants beside him. Yes. The young girl who was massaging Duan Lingtian's shoulders nodded. Young Master Duan, I'm the great-granddaughter of the Cloud Morning sect's third elder. My name is Lu Hehua. Young Master Duan, I'm the great-granddaughter of the Cloud Morning sect's seventh elder. My name is Yuan Meng. Duan Lingtian was slightly speechless when he heard the two young girls' words. You're the direct descendants of an elder in the Cloud Morning sect. You're actually allowed to be maidservants here? Is this how your ancestors let you experience life? Young Master Duan, little Meng and I just came here before you. The sect leader arranged for us to serve you. Lu Hehua was a young girl who looked to be about 15 or 16 years old. She was pretty, and when she smiled, the two dimples on her cheeks made her look even more charming. Usually, even if it's the first east courtyard, the maidservants arranged for us are only the outer sect elders' people. We were specially arranged to come here because you're coming, young Master Duan. Lu Hehua did not seem to have anything to worry about, as she directly stated her intentions. Young Master Duan, when you leave, you must take us with you. Otherwise, the two of us will be randomly betrothed to someone we don't like. At this moment, Yuan Meng also looked at Duan Lingtian pitifully. Any ordinary man would find it hard to reject such a moving appearance. However, was Duan Lingtian an ordinary man? Although he was not old, he was already the father of 2 children. Moreover, the reason he came to the Mystic Gang land in the Plains of Gods in advance was because of his wife. He was not a hothead. However, at this moment, he also guessed the Cloud Morning sect's intention. They wanted to push these 2 young girls to him, so that he would be related to the Cloud Morning sect. This way, the Cloud Morning sect would have him as their backer in the future. Don't worry, with me here, I won't let you be randomly betrothed to someone you don't like, Duan Lingtian said to the 2 women. When the 2 women heard Duan Lingtian's words, their eyes lit up. They subconsciously thought that Duan Lingtian was going to take them away. Originally, they were a little resistant to being ordered to serve the person in front of them, but orders were greater than the heavens. Morning Cloud sect had placed high hopes on them, so they, who had been brainwashed since they were young, could not refuse such an order. However, when they saw Duan Lingtian himself, their eyes lit up. Such a handsome and good-tempered young man, with such a noble status, Such astonishing talent and comprehension. Following such a man, even if it was only as a concubine, to them, it would be a matter of reaching the heavens in a single bound. Besides, if they really got together with him, their families would be able to live a better life in Morning Cloud sect. To them, the sect was number one, their family was number two, and their personal freedom could only be ranked last. But even so, if they could follow someone they liked, their mood would definitely be better. It was also because Duan Lingtian did not know what the two women were thinking, or else he would definitely think that they were thinking too much. Sima Kongming, the sect leader of Morning Cloud sect, requests to see young Master Duan. A familiar voice came from outside. It was obvious that Sima Kongming, the sect leader of Morning Cloud sect, had arrived. Come in. Sima Kongming only dared to come in after Duan Lingtian greeted him. After coming in, he saw that Duan Lingtian was not disgusted by the two women serving him, and a smile immediately appeared at the corner of his mouth. It seemed that his way of doing things was right. Heroes had a weakness for the charms of beautiful women, and it had always been like this since ancient times. Young Master Duan, this is a gift from Morning Cloud sect to you. Sima Kongming took 2 steps forward and handed a storage ring with 20,000 godstones to Duan Lingtian. Although his heart was still bleeding, when he thought about how Duan Lingtian might be related to Morning Cloud sect because of the two women in front of him, he felt better. At least Morning Cloud sect would not be like Meng family and Celestial sect, who did not get anything substantial. As long as the two women of Morning Cloud sect followed this Heaven Illumination sect disciple, Morning Cloud sect would naturally benefit from his pillow talk in the future. Thank you, sect leader Sima. Duan Lingtian took the storage ring and thanked him repeatedly. Then, he closed his eyes and continued to bask in the sun. Sima Kongming, who had been standing for a while, could only leave awkwardly. Before he left, he did not forget to send a voice transmission to the two women to serve Duan Lingtian well. If the conditions allowed, take him as soon as possible. After Sima Kongming left, the two women looked at each other. Then, they looked at Duan Lingtian with a burning gaze. Young master, Heaven Illumination sect should be bigger than Morning Cloud sect, right? Yuan Meng asked Duan Lingtian with a smile. Heaven Illumination sect? Duan Lingtian was stunned for a moment. Then, he remembered that he had pretended to be a Heaven Illumination sect disciple. I'm not sure. However, as an Emperor God level sect, it's definitely bigger than Morning Cloud sect. It's just a question of how big it is. Not sure. Duan Lingtian's words stunned Yuan Meng and Yuan Meng. Young master, aren't you a Heaven Illumination sect disciple? Duan Lingtian only smiled faintly in the face of the two women's questions. He did not reply. However, even so, the two women still sent a voice transmission to inform Sima Kongming, the sect leader of Morning Cloud sect who had just left. However, Sima Kongming was stunned for a moment before he replied. Young Master Duan might not have returned to Heaven Illumination sect. After all, he was only accepted by Valley Master Yi Beiyuan of Heaven Illumination sect in the past 30 years. Moreover, with his innate talent and comprehension, even Heaven Illumination sect would fight to accept him as their disciple. I wish he wasn't a Heaven Illumination sect disciple. It would be even better if he was a disciple of one of the strongest Emperor God level sects in Tunglung province. Perhaps you can persuade him to leave Heaven Illumination sect and join one of those Emperor God level sects in the future. Although Heaven Illumination sect is also an Emperor God level sect, there's still a huge difference between the current Emperor God level sect and the Emperor God level sect that had Emperor Gods in the past. Sima Kongming did not even consider that Duan Lingtian was a fake Emperor God level sect disciple. After all, it was not a big deal even if he was a fake. He had witnessed Duan Lingtian's innate talent and comprehension with his own eyes. He had defeated Qian Shuhuan, the Qian family's elder ancestor, who was a higher deity. Qian Shuhuan was an outstanding figure among the Qian family's older generation, and had already become a higher deity 10,000 years ago. No matter how bad one's innate talent was, he would definitely have improved in 10,000 years. As long as such a talented young man did not die prematurely, he would definitely become an earth-shattering figure in Tunglung province in the future. If the two ladies of his Cloud Mourning sect could follow such a person, it would only be beneficial to the Cloud Mourning sect. Even if it was a gamble, he was willing to take it. After receiving Sima Kongming's reply, the two ladies by Duan Lingtian's side calmed down and immediately served Duan Lingtian even more diligently. During this process, the two ladies had also hinted to Duan Lingtian about some things. Although the two ladies were inexperienced, since they were prepared to follow Duan Lingtian, the Cloud Mourning sect had also instructed some women in the sect to teach them beforehand. Therefore, they were not completely clueless in this regard. However, what made them feel helpless was that even after a few days, they still could not win over this seemingly amiable young man, even after using all their skills. Whether the young man was lying down, sitting, or standing, he was like an old monk in meditation. He was not affected by them at all. This made them feel even more helpless. At the same time, they began to doubt their own charm. It's also time for me to leave. During the few days in the Cloud Mourning sect, Duan Lingtian did not inquire about anything. Instead, he allowed himself to completely relax and enjoy the service of the two ladies. However, no matter how the two ladies hinted at him, he did not do anything out of line. His heart was as firm as a rock. How could it be shaken by two little girls? Young master, what do we need to prepare? Hearing Duan Lingtian say that he was going to leave, the two ladies' eyes lit up. Since they were young, the furthest place they had been to was some places in Mountain Overlook City. Until now they had never left Mountain Overlook City. You don't need to prepare. Duan Lingtian shook his head. I'll leave by myself. Duan Lingtian's words made the two ladies completely dumbfounded. Didn't he say that he would take them away? Why did he suddenly change his mind? Young master, is it because we didn't do well that you're not willing to take us away? Yuan Meng's eyes were red and she was about to cry. This was not an act because if they did not leave with Duan Lingtian, what awaited them would only be a marriage alliance. Moreover, with their status in the Cloud Mourning sect, they could only marry those who were not as strong as the disciples of the Cloud Mourning sect. Those disciples of the Cloud Mourning sect were basically good-for-nothings and would not treat them sincerely. Young master, Lu Hua's eyes were also red. Didn't you say that you won't let us marry someone we don't like? If you don't take us away, we won't be able to control our own destiny. Hearing the two ladies' words, Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. Don't worry. Before I leave, I'll see your sect master one last time. As long as I say the word, he won't dare to act recklessly. Otherwise, when I come to the Cloud Mourning sect in the future, he and the entire Cloud Mourning sect will regret it. Although Duan Lingtian had a smile on his face from the beginning to the end as he spoke, his voice revealed waves of coldness. When the two ladies heard this, their hearts were filled with warmth. They should have been happy, but at the same time, they felt a little disappointed. Only then did they realize that in the past few days, they had already developed a good impression of this almost perfect young man. When Sima Kongming, the sect master of Cloud Mourning sect, heard Duan Lingtian's words, although he felt bitter in his heart, he still agreed repeatedly. He knew that his honey trap had failed in the end. Aside from that, he did not dare to ignore the others' instructions before he left. Otherwise, when the other party came again in the future, not only would he be in trouble, Cloud Mourning sect would also be in trouble. Chapter 36:17. My harvest in Mountain Overlook City was pretty good this time. Outside Mountain Overlook City, Duan Lingtian was about to leave the city when he glanced at the storage ring on his hand. His eyes narrowed as a brilliant smile appeared on his face. Of the four major powers of Mountain Overlook City, the Qian family had given him 30,000 divine stones while the other three families had each given him 20,000 divine stones. In total it was 90,000 divine stones. This was already comparable to the total value of the top-grade immortal crystals in his storage ring. Mountain Overlook City is only a small city at the edge of Tunglung province. In the eyes of outsiders, a small city like Mountain Overlook City is no different from a small rural town. To them, it's a place where even birds don't shit. After all, There isn't even a trace of a divine stone mine in the surrounding area of Mountain Overlook City. However, the reason why Mountain Overlook City is so peaceful, and the four major powers can live so comfortably is mostly because they don't have much wealth in their hands. God Kings simply disdain to go to Mountain Overlook City to plunder their wealth. As for higher deities, although they also have the ability to plunder, they have to consider the higher deities behind the four major powers. There are many higher deities behind the four major powers of Mountain Overlook City. Moreover, they are spread throughout Tunglung Province. Although their status is ordinary, they aren't easy to provoke. Unless it's a higher deity with a high status and a powerful background, they have no choice but to fear the higher deities behind the four major powers of Mountain Overlook City. Of course, higher deities with high status and a powerful background also don't care about the wealth of the four major powers of Mountain Overlook City. Duan Lingtian knew the current situation of Mountain Overlook City like the back of his hand. Otherwise, with the strength of the four major powers of Mountain Overlook City, it would be difficult for them to survive in Mountain Overlook City, let alone pass down their legacies. The closest major city to Mountain Overlook City is Tianfeng City. There are 5 God King level clans in Tianfeng City. In addition, there's also the Hidden Fog Academy, whose status is even higher than the 5 God King level clans. It's an academy established by the Divine Emperor level sect, the Hidden Fog sect. The Hidden Fog Academy is the cradle where the God Emperor level sect, the Hidden Fog sect, recruits talented disciples. Even the talented disciples of Skywind City's 5 great God King level families will be sent to the Hidden Fog Academy. The Hidden Fog Academy only recruits young talents under the age of 2,800 because the graduation age of the Hidden Fog Academy is set at 3,000 years old. You're close to 2,800 years old. If you want to enter the Hidden Mist Academy, you have to meet strict conditions. Because at this age, you can only participate in the 10-star exam. When Duan Lingtian was still in Mountain Overlook City a few days ago, he had already learned a lot about the Hidden Fog Academy in Skywind City. He was planning to enter the Hidden Fog Academy. In other words, he would enter the Hidden Fog Academy and walk the path of growth in the Mystic Handle Land. Of course, with the talent and comprehension ability that he had displayed so far, even if he directly joined one of the strongest God Emperor level forces in Tunglung Province, he would still have the qualifications to do so. The other party would also be willing to accept him. However, if he did so, unless he could find a huge backer that could protect him, he would be in great danger. Although Duan Lingtian's talent and comprehension ability were high. But the moment he joined a God Emperor level force, he would definitely snatch the cultivation resources of some of the original genius disciples of those forces. And those genius disciples, many of them had backing, and many of them even had elders in the upper echelons of those God Emperor level forces, who knew whether or not the elders behind those genius disciples would make a move against him. Although Duan Lingtian's strength was not bad, he was nothing compared to those God Emperor level forces. Moreover, even if he joined one of those God Emperor level forces, he was not sure if that person would be able to intimidate those who wanted to kill him. Don't think about reaching the heavens in a single step. The right path is to take one step at a time. Before coming to the realm of gods, Duan Lingtian had heard the world-cleansing divine water say this more than once. The powerhouses in the realm of gods are different from those in the Devata realms and the mundane realms. Most of them value blood ties more. Even if your talent and comprehension ability are higher than your juniors, they might not necessarily nurture you since they only trust their juniors. In the realms of gods, it's not like it's the first time a disciple managed to surpass his master and kill him for his treasures. These were the exact words of the world-cleansing divine water. For this reason, Duan Lingtian had made a plan for himself. He would not recklessly take the path of reaching the heavens in a single step. He would take it slow and steady. No, it would be more accurate to say he would take it slow and steady. Moreover, with his current foundation, even if he joined one of those God Emperor level forces, he would still need to build his foundation. After all, he was only a lesser god. As for his comprehension of the law of space, with the help of the supreme powerhouse divinity, he was not afraid that he would not be able to keep up with his cultivation base. As for the sword Tao and control Tao of the four Tao of heaven and earth, there was no one and nothing that could help him. He could only rely on himself. What he needed most now was to raise his cultivation base. He was only a lesser god now. There was not much difference between joining the Hidden Fog Academy and joining an emperor-level force. Moreover, with his wealth, as long as he did not come across any particularly rare divine pills, divine fruits, or divine herbs, he would have enough to squander before he became a greater god. Hidden Fog Academy. Windy City's Hidden Mist Academy was Duan Ling Tian's destination after leaving Mountain View City. Moreover, the Hidden Mist Academy's annual recruitment was about to begin. The Hidden Mist Academy didn't recruit many people each year. However, no matter how few people it was still a huge number. The Hidden Fog Academy students were divided into 10 levels, from 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, and all the way to 10-star. 10-star students could not be older than 3,000 years old. If they were 2,800 years old and had not become a 10-star student, they would be expelled from the Hidden Fog Academy. 9-star students had to become a 10-star student before they were 2,600 years old. 8-star students had to become a 10-star student before they were 2,400 years old. 200 years old was a step, and so on. To enter the Hidden Fog Academy, one had to be at least 1-star student, even if they were under 1,000 years old. 1-star students had to have comprehended 4 profundities of a law to greater mastery, and their cultivation base had to be at least an 8 trigram celestial emperor. There was not a single person in Mountain Overlook City who could do that. In fact, in the past 10,000 years of Mountain Overlook City's history, there had never been such a person. The Hidden Fog Academy is quite flexible. They didn't set a fixed requirement for students to be under 1,000 years old. They will accept anyone under 2,800 years old, but they have to meet the requirements. At this thought, Duan Lingtian finally retracted his thoughts. He turned to look at Mountain Overlook City, the first city he came to after arriving in the mystic astral land. He studied it for a moment before he left. If there were no accidents, he would not return to Mountain Overlook City in the future. After Duan Lingtian left Mountain Overlook City, news of what he did in the Qian clan spread, even though the Qian clan tried to cover it up. It did not take long for everyone in Mountain Overlook City to know what Duan Lingtian did in the Qian clan. As a lesser god, Duan Lingtian defeated the Qian clan's ancestor, who was a greater god. Then, the Qian clan gave him 30,000 divine stones, and the other 3 major forces gave him 20,000 divine stones, each to curry favor with him. The cause of all this originated from a village called the Duan clan's village in the Endless Mountains. In an instant, many people from Mountain Overlook City entered the Endless Mountains. All of them wanted to head to the Duan clan's manor to watch the show. To be precise, they wanted to go to the Duan clan's southern clan to watch the show. The Duan clan's southern clan had been reduced to ruins. However, when people came to watch the show, the other 3 clans of the Duan clan also noticed the commotion and were puzzled. Who are these people? Are they related to the annihilation of the 2nd and 4th clans of the Tai clan? The 2nd and 4th clans of the Tai clan had been annihilated by the 4 major forces of Mountain Overlook City. This matter had shaken the entire Endless Mountains. Since then, everyone in the Endless Mountains felt insecure. At the very least, no one dared to step out of the Endless Mountains. All of them anxiously waited in the Endless Mountains, trying to find out why the 2 clans of the Tai clan were annihilated by the 4 major forces of Mountain Overlook City. However, because the other 3 clans of the Duan clan did not dare to go to Mountain Overlook City, they did not hear about the commotion in Mountain Overlook City. Go and find out why so many people went to the Southern clan. Many people of the 3 clans of the Duan clan left the clan and pretended to be outsiders, blending into the crowd at the Southern clan. At the same time, they pricked up their ears to listen to the whispers of the people around them. This is the Duan clan's Southern clan? The Duan clan's Southern clan that Lord Ling Tian said has a relationship with him? That's right. That Qian clan's second young master, Qian Fei, is really unlucky. He originally thought that this was a small village that he could bully. Who would have thought that such a calamity would appear? I wonder what kind of relationship that Lord Ling Tian has with the Duan clan's southern clan. Why don't we go to the other 3 clans and ask around? The people of the Duan clan's eastern clan, northern clan, and western clan were naturally shocked when they learned the ins and outs of the matter from the group of people who came to the ruins of the Duan clan's southern clan to watch the commotion. Only then did they know, as it turned out, the reason the second and fourth branches of the Tai clan manor were annihilated by the 4 great forces of Mountain Overlook City was all because of a young man named Duan Lingtian. Moreover, that Duan Lingtian was a disciple of the Heaven Illumination sect, a god-emperor level sect in Tunglung province. A lower god defeated the Qian clan's senior ancestor, Qian Shuhuan, who is a higher god. Heavens! Our Duan clan's southern clan actually had a relationship with such a big shot in the past? This relationship, is it just the southern clans or our entire Duan clans? The eyes of the people of the other 3 clans of the Duan clan, who came to inquire about the news, lit up simultaneously. It was as though they could already see the entire Duan clan rising, because of that Heaven Illumination sect disciple. Chapter 36:18. My harvest in Mountain Overlook City was pretty good this time. Outside Mountain Overlook City, Duan Lingtian was about to leave the city when he glanced at the storage ring on his hand. His eyes narrowed as a brilliant smile appeared on his face. Of the 4 major powers of Mountain Overlook City, the Qian family had given him 30,000 divine stones, while the other 3 families had each given him 20,000 divine stones. In total, it was 90,000 divine stones. This was already comparable to the total value of the top-grade immortal crystals in his storage ring. Mountain Overlook City is only a small city at the edge of Tunglung province. In the eyes of outsiders, a small city like Mountain Overlook City is no different from a small rural town. In their eyes, it's a place where even birds don't shit. After all, there isn't even a trace of a divine stone mine in the surrounding area of Mountain Overlook City. However, the reason why Mountain Overlook City is so peaceful, and the 4 major powers can live so comfortably, is mostly because they don't have much wealth in their hands. God kings simply disdain to go to Mountain Overlook City to plunder their wealth. As for higher deities, although they also have the ability to plunder, they have to consider the higher deities behind the 4 major powers. There are many higher deities behind the 4 major powers of Mountain Overlook City. Moreover, they are spread throughout Tunglung province. Although their status is ordinary, they aren't easy to provoke. Unless it's a higher deity with a high status and a powerful background, they have no choice but to fear the higher deities behind the 4 major powers of Mountain Overlook City. Of course, higher deities with high status and a powerful background don't care about the wealth of the 4 major powers of Mountain Overlook City. Duan Lingtian knew the current situation of Mountain Overlook City like the back of his hand. Otherwise, with the strength of the 4 major powers of Mountain Overlook City, it would be difficult for them to survive in Mountain Overlook City, let alone pass down their legacies. The closest major city to Mountain Overlook City is Tianfeng City. There are 5 God King level clans in Tianfeng City. In addition, there is an even more transcendent existence than the 5 God King level clans, the Hidden Fog Academy. It is an academy established by the Divine Emperor level sect, the Hidden Fog sect. The Hidden Fog Academy is the cradle where the God Emperor level sect, the Hidden Fog sect, recruits talented disciples. Even the talented disciples of Skywind City's 5 great God King level families will be sent to the Hidden Fog Academy. The Hidden Fog Academy only recruits young talents under the age of 2,800 because the graduation age of the Hidden Fog Academy is set at 3,000 years old. You're close to 2,800 years old. If you want to enter the Hidden Mist Academy, you have to meet strict conditions. Because at this age, you can only participate in the 10-star exam. When Duan Lingtian was still in Mountainside City a few days ago, he had already learned a lot about the Hidden Fog Academy in Skywind City. He was planning to enter the Hidden Fog Academy. In other words, he would enter the Hidden Fog Academy and walk the path of growth in the mystic Handle land. Of course, with the talent and comprehension ability that he had displayed so far, even if he directly joined one of the strongest God Emperor level forces in Tunglung province, he would still have the qualifications to do so. The other party would also be willing to accept him. However, if he did so, unless he could find a huge backer that could protect him, he would be in great danger. His talent and comprehension ability were high, but the moment he joined a God Emperor level force, he would definitely snatch the cultivation resources of some of the original genius disciples of those forces. And those genius disciples, many of them had backing, and many of them even had elders in the upper echelons of those God Emperor level forces, who knew whether or not the elders behind those genius disciples would make a move against him. Although Duan Lingtian was strong, he was nothing compared to the powerhouses of those God Emperor level forces. Moreover, even if he joined one of those God Emperor level forces, he did not know if that person would be able to intimidate those who wanted to kill him. Don't think about reaching the heavens in a single step. The right path is to take one step at a time. Before coming to the realms of gods, Duan Lingtian had heard the world-cleansing divine water say this more than once. The powerhouses in the realms of gods are different from those in the Devata realms and the mundane realms. Most of them value blood ties. Even if your talent and comprehension ability are higher than your juniors, they won't necessarily nurture you since they only believe in their juniors. In the realms of gods, it's not like it's the first time a disciple managed to surpass his master and kill him for his treasures. These were the exact words of the world-cleansing divine water. For this reason, Duan Lingtian had made a plan for himself. He did not want to take the path of reaching the heavens in a single step. He wanted to grow steadily and quietly. To be more precise, he wanted to grow quietly. Moreover, with his current foundation, even if he joined one of those God Emperor level forces, he would still need to build a foundation. After all, he was only a lesser god. As for his comprehension of the law of space, with the help of the supreme powerhouse divinity, he was not afraid that he would not be able to keep up with his cultivation base. As for the sword Tao and control Tao of the four Tao of heaven and earth, there was no one and nothing that could help him. He could only rely on himself. What he needed most now was to raise his cultivation base. He was only a lesser god now. There was not much difference between joining the Hidden Fog Academy and joining an emperor-level force. Moreover, as long as he did not come across any extremely rare divine pills, divine fruits, or divine herbs, he would have enough wealth to squander before he became a greater god. Hidden Fog Academy. Wind City's Hidden Fog Academy was Duan Lingtian's destination after leaving Mountain Overlook City. The Hidden Fog Academy's annual recruitment was about to begin. The Hidden Mist Academy didn't recruit many people each year. However, no matter how few people it was still a huge number after a year. The Hidden Fog Academy's students were divided into 10 levels, from 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, and all the way to 10 star. 10-star students could not be older than 3,000 years old. If they were 2,800 years old and had not become a 10-star student, they would be expelled from the Hidden Fog Academy. 9-star students had to become a 10-star student before they were 2,600 years old. 8-star students had to become a 10-star student before they were 2,400 years old. 200 years old was the next step, and so on. To enter the Hidden Fog Academy, even if they were under 1,000 years old, they had to be at least 1-star student. 1-star students had to have comprehended 4 profundities of a law to greater mastery and be an 8 trigrams celestial emperor or above. There was not a single person in Mountain Overlook City who could do that. In fact, in the past 10,000 years of Mountain Overlook City's history, there had never been such a person. The Hidden Fog Academy is quite flexible. They didn't set a rule that only students under 1,000 years old are accepted. They will accept anyone under 2,800 years old, but they have to meet the corresponding requirements. Duan Lingtian finally retracted his thoughts. He turned to look at Mountain Overlook City, the first city he had come to after arriving in the mystic gangland in the Plain of Gods. He studied it carefully before he left. If there were no accidents, he would not be returning to Mountain Overlook City in the future. After Duan Lingtian left Mountain Overlook City, news of what he did in the Qian clan spread, even though the Qian clan tried to cover it up. It did not take long for everyone in Mountain Overlook City to know what Duan Lingtian did in the Qian clan. As a lesser god, he had squandered the Qian family's greater god old ancestor. The Qian family had even gifted him 30,000 godstones, and the other three major powers had also given him 20,000 godstones each. All of them wanted to curry favor with him. All of this originated from a village in the Endless Mountains called the Duan Clan's Manor. Many people in Mountain Overlook City entered the Endless Mountains to see what was going on in the Duan Clan's Manor. To be precise, they wanted to see what was going on in the Duan Clan's Southern Manor. The Duan Clan's Southern Manor had been reduced to rubble. However, when people came to see what was going on, the other three Duan Clan's manors were also puzzled. Who are these people? Are they related to the annihilation of the second and fourth branches of the Tai clan's manor? The second and fourth branches of the Tai clan's manor were annihilated by the four major forces of Mountain Overlook City. This matter had shaken the entire Endless Mountains. Since then, everyone in the Endless Mountains felt insecure. At the very least, no one dared to step out of the Endless Mountains. All of them anxiously waited in the Endless Mountains, trying to find out why the two branches of the Tai clan's manor were annihilated by the four major forces of Mountain Overlook City. However, because the other three Duan clan's manors didn't dare to go to Mountain Overlook City, they didn't hear about the matter that was spreading like wildfire in Mountain Overlook City. Go and find out why so many people went to the Southern Manor. Many people left the Duan clan's manor and pretended to be outsiders, blending into the crowd at the Southern Manor. At the same time, they pricked up their ears to listen to the whispers of the people around them. This is the Duan clan's Southern Manor? The Duan clan's Southern Manor that Lord Ling Tian said has a relationship with him? That's right. That Qian clan's second young master, Qian Fei, is really unlucky. He originally thought that this was a small village that he could bully. Who would have thought that such a calamity would appear? I wonder what kind of relationship that Lord Ling Tian has with the Duan clan's Southern Manor. Why don't we go to the other three Duan clan's manors and ask around? The people from the Duan clan's Eastern Manor, Northern Manor, and Western Manor were naturally shocked when they found out the ins and outs of the matter from the people who came to the ruins of the Duan clan's Southern Manor to watch the show. Only then did they know. As it turned out, the reason why the second and fourth branches of the Tai clan manor were annihilated by the four great forces of Mountain Overlook City was all because of a young man named Duan Lingtian. Moreover, that Duan Lingtian was a disciple of their Tunglung province's God-Emperor sect, the Heavenly Illumination sect. A lower divine realm expert defeated the Qian clan's senior ancestor, Qian Shuhuan, who is a higher divine realm expert. Heavens! Our Duan clan's Southern Manor actually had a relationship with such a big shot in the past? Is this relationship only related to the Southern Manor, or our entire Duan clan? The eyes of the people from the other three Duan clan's manors, who came to inquire about the news, lit up simultaneously. It was as though they could already see the entire Duan clan's rise, because of that Heavenly Illumination sect's disciple. Chapter 36:19. I've been editing and uploading them. Now that I've lost the draft for the second chapter, I have to rewrite it. I'll replace it after I've finished writing it. At that time, I'll send another reminder. At that time, I'll just have to refresh it again. There won't be repeated charges. Sorry. I'm a little irritated. After writing for so many years, this is the first time I've lost a draft. This rubbish writing software doesn't have any historical records. Ling Tian War God chapter repetition problem. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 36:20. If it could not be refreshed, try clearing the cache or re-adding the book back to the bookshelf to read. Usually it was not so complicated. It would automatically be revised when one read it back. I'm really sorry. I will definitely be more careful in the future and not make the same mistake again. I'm sorry. Well, for those who do not know the truth, you can skip this part. Ling Tian's war god has been revised. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 36-21. As the big city in the mountain overlook city, the Wind City occupied a vast area that Mountain Overlook City couldn't compare to. The city gates were at least 5 times larger than any of the city gates in Mountain Overlook City. Not only that, but the city walls were taller as well. Apart from that, the city gave off an ancient vibe. It was as though the city had existed for a very long time. After flying into Wind City, Duan Lingtian did not look for a restaurant like he did when he first visited Mountain Overlook City. Instead, he looked for an inn and checked in. The most important thing now is to find a way to conceal my bone age. As the saying went, trees have growth rings, but people have bone age. In the realms of gods, one could not tell how long a person had lived just by looking at their appearance. After all, it was easy to maintain one's youthful appearance if one wanted to. Naturally, there were also those who did not like to look young. They would either look middle-aged or old. One's age could not be determined based on one's appearance. However, one's bone age was a reflection of one's true age. Take the Hidden Fog Academy in Wind City as an example. When they recruited students, they would test their bone age. Duan Lingtian was only close to 700 years old. Naturally, they would be able to tell his age through the test. However, as the saying went, the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Naturally, Duan Lingtian did not want his true age to be exposed. If his identity was exposed, the danger would outweigh the opportunity. At that time, his fate would no longer be in his own hands. It would depend on the mood of those powerhouses and whether they would accept him. If they accepted him, he would live. If they did not, he would die. For this reason, Duan Lingtian wanted to conceal his bone age the most. When he was still in the Devata realms, the world-cleansing divine water had advised him to consume the bone concealment pill to conceal his skeletal age before revealing his true age in the realms of gods. The bone concealment pill was a divine pill that had many grades. The higher the grade, the more it would increase one's bone age. Moreover, the bone concealment pill could only increase one's bone age, not reduce it. The bone concealment pill is not a very precious divine pill. Even the spirit connection pill is far inferior to it. Let's see which pill stores sell the bone concealment pill. I can buy some later. When he thought up to this point, Duan Lingtian left the inn and started strolling around Skywind City. The most important place to visit was the pill store. After wandering around for an entire afternoon, he found that almost every pill shop had hidden bone pills for sale. However, there were only 3 grades and none of the higher grades. However, among the 3 grades of bone concealment pills, the middle grade was just right for the current Duan Lingtian, hiding the skeletal age and increasing it by 2,000 years. Currently, Duan Lingtian's real age was nearly 700 years old. Adding on his 2,000 years, he would be nearly 2,700 years old. At this age, he could only participate in the Hidden Fog Academy's assessment for 9-star and 10-star students. Once they reached the age of 2,800, they would be kicked out of the Hidden Fog Academy if they still couldn't pass the 10-star exam. Although I can't be too high profile when I enter the Hidden Fog Academy, I can't show my weak cultivation either. If I do, my progress in leaving the Hidden Fog Academy and entering the Hidden Fog sect will be slower. So 2,700 years old is the most suitable age for me at the moment. Even if it's conspicuous, it won't be too exaggerated. This was what Duan Lingtian thought. At 2,700 years old, even if his performance was outstanding, it would only be a little better than the other students of the Hidden Fog Academy. It wouldn't be too exaggerated. Although it would attract attention, it wouldn't be easy to attract extreme jealousy and hostility. But this bone concealment pill is really expensive. A bone concealment pill that can increase one's skeletal age by 2,000 years for a month actually costs 200 spirit stones. The price of the bone concealment pill made Duan Lingtian speechless. After all, the pill's effect only lasted for a month, not forever. Even so, Duan Lingtian still planned to buy it. However, he didn't buy it directly. After returning to the inn, he went out and found a remote place. He changed into a hooded black robe and went to buy it. He did this so he wouldn't leave any traces behind. In any case, he had to be as careful as he could in this unfamiliar realm of gods. Duan Lingtian did not want to die prematurely. His wife, Kerr, was still waiting for him to save her. There were too many powerhouses in this realm of gods. Although he had become a god, he was only a lesser god. He could only be considered as a starting point on the path to becoming a god in this realm of gods. He was just like a heavenly celestial in the Devata realms. He was just like a martial artist in the mundane realms, who had just embarked on the path of cultivation. He still had a long way to go. In this realm, there were many people who could defeat him. If he was not careful, he would not be able to react in time if he was killed. After a while, Duan Lingtian swallowed the bone concealment pill. While waiting for the Hidden Fog Academy's annual recruitment, he wandered around Hidden Fog City to see if there was anything he needed to buy. Currently, even if he did not exchange the supreme celestial crystals in his possession for divine stones, he still had 90,000 divine stones. It was enough for him to squander for a while. In fact, as long as he did not overspend, it would be enough for him to become a greater god. I don't need to buy any divine weapons. However, I can buy some floating image pearls that record the battles between powerhouses who are skilled in the law of space. Although I have the supreme powerhouse divinity to help me comprehend the law of space, it's still different from other powerhouses who have comprehended the law of space. Perhaps, I'll be able to gain more insights from the floating image pearls and improve my comprehension of the law of space. Duan Lingtian had discovered this when he was in the Devata realms. For example, the law of space in the primeval precipice in the heavenly palace of the primeval heaven had been of great help to him. Apart from the floating image pearls, there are also divine pills, divine fruits, and some formation discs for spirit gathering formations that will be of great help to my cultivation. After all, the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Devata realms was different from the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Devata realms. The heaven and earth spirit energy in the Devata realms was much denser and more powerful. If he recklessly activated the formation discs for spirit gathering formations in the Devata realms, it would be destroyed by the heaven and earth spirit energy. There are only 2 months left before the Hidden Fog Academy's recruitment begins. During the 2 months of waiting, Duan Lingtian had almost swept through all the big and small medicinal pill stores in the Heavenly Wind City and purchased a large number of divine pills that could assist lesser deities in their cultivation. However, he did not find any divine fruits. Divine fruits were generally more effective than divine pills. Moreover, most divine fruits could be refined into divine pills. Therefore, very few people would sell them directly. Are there any better divine pills? Duan Lingtian asked the shopkeeper in one of the pill shops. When the shopkeeper heard this, a bitter smile immediately appeared on his face. Dear customer, even if this humble store had better divine pills, they would be swept away by those divine king-level clans not long after they arrived. They are also the most well-informed. It's the same for the divine fruits you're looking for. Half of the divine pills and divine fruits in the Heavenly Wind City are in the hands of the God King clans and their affiliated forces. The remaining half are in the Hidden Fog Academy. If you're willing to pay a high price, you might be able to obtain the divine pills and divine fruits. As for the divine pills and divine pills, it's very difficult to obtain them. The shopkeeper briefly explained the situation in the Heavenly Wind City to Duan Lingtian. Pay a high price to obtain them? Duan Lingtian was puzzled by this. Yes, the shopkeeper nodded. Those God King level clans all have their own trading houses. Every once in a while, in order to help their trading houses attract customers, they will hold an auction in their trading houses. At that time, the trading houses of their clans will be the busiest. And for an auction to attract people to bid or join in the fun, there must be something good. Duan Lingtian nodded after the shopkeeper finished speaking. He could understand the actions of the God King clans. Is there an auction soon? Duan Lingtian asked the shopkeeper. In half a month, there will be an auction in the Zhou clan's trading house. If you're interested, you can go and take a look. The shopkeeper smiled. Are there any requirements to participate in the auction? Duan Lingtian asked again. Other than having to pay the required amount of divine stones to enter, there are no other requirements. The seats in the lobby cost 10 divine stones. As for the private rooms upstairs, each one costs 1,000 divine stones. When the manager reached this point, he began to shake his head. In truth, every time the God King level clans hold an auction, they will be able to amass a great amount of wealth just by relying on the tickets. Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Duan Lingtian understood. Half a month later, at the Zhou clan's auction, the Hidden Fog Academy's recruitment would be held a month later. It's meaningless to go out now. I'll wait for the Zhou clan's auction and the Hidden Fog Academy's recruitment before I go out. After returning to the inn, Duan Lingtian planned to go out twice in the following month. The first time would be at the Zhou clan's auction in half a month's time, and the second time would be at the Hidden Fog Academy's recruitment in a month's time. Moreover, after the Hidden Fog Academy's recruitment, he would definitely live in the Hidden Fog Academy. This was because the Hidden Fog Academy had a rule that students had to live in the academy, and they could only leave the academy for 3 days once a month. In the following half a month, with the help of the elixirs I bought recently, I can further consolidate my cultivation as a lesser god. Although the elixirs he bought were not very effective, there was a lot of them. Therefore, Duan Lingtian was confident that he could completely consolidate his cultivation as a lesser god in half a month. At that time, he would be able to make a breakthrough to the intermediate god stage. Of course, this was just the beginning. Even then, his cultivation base was still quite a distance away from the level of a medium deity. In Tianfeng City, everything was calm and peaceful. No one knew that a monstrous genius had appeared in Tianfeng City in the past month. This genius was enough to attract the attention of the strongest god emperors in Tunglung province. Chapter 36-22. The few God King level clans in Skywind City all had their own trading houses in Skywind City, and they were in a competitive relationship with each other. It was also because of this that they would hold an auction every once in a while to attract customers to their trading houses. This time, it was the turn of the Zhou clan, one of the Divine King level clans in Wind City, to hold an auction. A few days before the auction began, the Zhou clan's trading house had already become very lively. There were people from Wind City and people from around Wind City who had heard the news. There's really a lot of people. This was not the first time Duan Lingtian had come to the Zhou clan's trading house. Not long after he had arrived in Wind City, he had come to the Zhou clan's trading house, but at that time, there were not as many people as there were now. Now, although the streets and alleys of the Zhou clan's trading house were not crowded, there was still a black mass of people. One had to know that the last time Duan Lingtian had been here, this place was just like the streets outside Wind City. There were some places with many people, some places with many people, and some small alleys without stalls. There were even fewer people. The exchange hall referred to an area within Tianfeng City, not a shop. In any trading house, one had to hand over 10% of the profits to the Divine King level clans behind the trading house every time they sold an item. Of course, in the trading houses under the Divine King level clans, nearly half of the shops were completely controlled by their clans. The remaining shops were rented out because the trading houses were too big, and their clans did not have enough manpower to manage them. Under such circumstances, some of the shops were rented out. As for the shops in other parts of Wind City, not only were there fewer customers, the items they sold were also ordinary. Gradually, they personally pushed the customers to the trading houses of the various Divine King level clans. I wonder if I can find any treasures in this Zhou clan's trading house. Now there was still a day before the Zhou clan's auction began. Duan Lingtian had come here early to join in the fun, because he had heard that the Zhou clan's trading house would be very lively before the auction began. Not only would there be more people buying things, there would also be more people setting up stalls to sell things. There were actually quite a few people who had the same thoughts as Duan Lingtian. However, most of them returned disappointed in the end, including Duan Lingtian. Well, you're right. I'm considered an outsider in the realm of gods. How could I possibly find treasures that even gods with higher cultivation bases than me, including godly kings, can't find? Even if I saw it, I'm afraid I wouldn't recognize it. In the end, Duan Lingtian returned empty-handed. I'll come back tomorrow when the Zhou family's auction starts. When the time comes, I'll exchange the 10 million supreme-grade immortal crystals for godstones. In the blink of an eye, the next day arrived. The Zhou family auction would be held at night. Duan Lingtian was in no hurry to leave. Only when it was evening did he walk out of the inn's entrance and head towards the Zhou family's transaction house. Along the way, it was still all right at the start. The flow of people on the streets and in the air was normal. However, as they approached the Zhou family trading house, the flow of people suddenly increased. Furthermore, there were people continuously descending from the sky, because flying was not allowed in the Zhou family trading house. The only people who were allowed to fly were the Zhou family's patrol team. The patrol team was made up of 10 people, and all of them were higher deities. Moreover, it was said that they could contact the Zhou clan's god kings at any time. Moreover, the Zhou clan had a god king stationed at the Zhou clan's trading house, so they could strike at any time. Upon entering the Zhou family trading house, Duan Lingtian finally understood what it felt like to be crowded. The number of people in the Zhou family trading house today was even more exaggerated than the day before. There was a lot of chatter as well. It's said that the price of the entrance ticket to the auction this time has increased to 100 divine stones. Really? Why is it so exaggerated? Don't tell me there's something good in the auction this time. It's said that the Zhou family will be auctioning a divine royal grade cultivation method. A divine royal grade cultivation method. Heavens! I don't think there's a divine royal grade cultivation method in the history of the auctions held by the God King clans in Tianfeng City. Why didn't the Zhou family keep a divine royal grade cultivation method? If I remember correctly, the Zhou family's most treasured cultivation method is only a God King grade cultivation method, and it can only be cultivated up to the level of a middle God King. It's also because of this that there are very few people in the Zhou family who have reached the level of a higher God King. The Zhou family is very smart. They know that they will definitely become the target of everyone if they touch a divine royal grade cultivation method. Therefore, they put it up for auction as it is. It's said that the formation that seals this divine royal grade cultivation method has not been broken yet. This proves that the Zhou family has not opened it yet. Since it hasn't been opened, how can you be sure that it's a divine royal grade cultivation method? Because that's the most treasured cultivation method of a divine royal grade clan that appeared in the history of our Tunglung province. Many people know that cultivation method is called the 6 Divine Shadows formula. It's really the 6 Divine Shadows formula? Heavens! These cultivation techniques have actually appeared? I've long heard that when the Ku family, a godly emperor-level family in the Eastern Mountain Prefecture, was exterminated, several godly emperor-level forces of the Ku family did not find the 6 Divine Shadows spell. At that time, some people guessed that it had been hidden away. I didn't expect it to appear today. Duan Lingtian heard the commotion around him and learned about the final item of the Zhou family's auction. It was the divine royal grade cultivation method, the 6 Divine Shadows formula. The appearance of such a cultivation method in Tianfeng City was enough to cause a commotion. After all, the most powerful God King clans in Tianfeng City only had God King grade cultivation methods as their most treasured cultivation methods. The appearance of a divine royal grade cultivation method was too shocking. Normally, such a cultivation method would only exist in God King grade clans. Naturally, some sectless cultivators might possess a divine royal grade cultivation method. Due to the long history of the realms of gods, although many clans had fallen, their descendants had passed down their cultivation methods. However, they were still roaming the world as sectless cultivators. A divine royal grade cultivation method is useless to me. Before he came to the mystic Handle land in the realms of gods, or rather, before he entered the Nine Serenities battlefield, Duan Lingtian had obtained a godly venerable grade cultivation method from his master, Feng Qingyang. Even godly venerable grade clans did not possess a godly venerable grade cultivation method. It only existed in the hands of supreme experts. Moreover, a godly venerable grade cultivation method was unpredictable. For example, the godly venerable grade cultivation method that Feng Qingyang had passed on to Duan Lingtian could turn any low-grade cultivation method into a godly venerable grade cultivation method. Duan Lingtian had upgraded his first cultivation method, the Nine Dragons War Sovereign technique, to a godly venerable grade cultivation method. Currently, he was cultivating the modified version of the Nine Dragons War Sovereign technique. In fact, Duan Lingtian had chosen the Nine Dragons War Sovereign technique because he was nostalgic. Naturally, it was also because there was no difference between the Nine Dragons War Sovereign technique and the cultivation methods in the Devata realms. Otherwise, he would not have delayed his growth and affected his cultivation because of nostalgia. However, Duan Lingtian did not care about the divine royal grade cultivation method. It did not mean other people did not care. It said that some godly emperor-level forces have sent people here. Some of those godly emperor-level forces have godly emperor-level cultivation techniques, while some only have fragments of them. This time, a complete godly emperor-level cultivation technique has appeared in Wind City, so they won't miss it. That's right. No divine royal grade clans would complain about having too many divine royal grade cultivation methods. It is precisely because of this that the tickets to the Zhou family's auction this time have been inflated to a sky-high price. Furthermore, the number of ticket scalpers is still rising. In the 2 hours before the auction starts, I'm afraid that the price of an ordinary ticket will exceed the 200 taels of divine stones. The price of a room ticket has also increased from 1,000 taels of divine stones to 2,000 taels of divine stones. I'm sure it will exceed 3,000 taels of divine stones before the auction begins. Duan Lingtian was rendered speechless by the discussions around him. In the past, he only knew that the price of the concert tickets of some heavenly kings on earth would be sky-high. However, he did not expect the price of the entrance ticket to an auction in the realms of gods would be so high as well. Let's exchange for divine stones first. Duan Lingtian followed the crowd and arrived at the Zhou clan's trading house where people could exchange for divine stones. Duan Lingtian took out 10 million supreme celestial crystals. If it was any other day, it would have shocked many people. However, today it only shocked a few people. This was because there were people who were willing to exchange more supreme celestial crystals for divine stones. For the godly emperor-level technique, not only did people from godly emperor-level forces come, some godly king-level forces also came. These godly king-level forces were not like the Zhou clan of Wind City. They were afraid of taking the godly emperor-level technique for themselves. They didn't even dare to take it for themselves. They were afraid that they would be exterminated. These god-king grade clans did not settle down in one place. Instead, they roamed around. If a place was not safe or comfortable, they would move to another place. In fact, they were bandits. Whether it was in the mundane realms, the Devata realms, or the realms of gods, as long as there were people, there would be greed. There were bandits in the mundane realms, bandits in the Devata realms, and bandits in the realms of gods. Moreover, there were many powerful bandits in the realms of gods. For example, there were many god-king grade clans in Tunglung province. Since they did not settle down in one place, they were not afraid of ordinary divine royal grade clans. This time, there were not only divine royal grade clans, but also god-king grade clans, who came for the divine royal grade cultivation method. The bandits had many divine stones in their possession. However, in order to compete for the divine royal grade cultivation method in the Zhou clan's auction, they had even taken out all their supreme celestial crystals to exchange for divine stones. One of the bandits even took out 30 million supreme celestial crystals. I wonder which bandit force he's from. Many people speculated that Duan Lingtian was a bandit as well. Duan Lingtian could only smile helplessly. Bro. Big brother. After returning to the busy street, Duan Lingtian hadn't even taken 2 steps when he noticed that his path was blocked by someone. Moreover, the young girl that blocked his path actually had an excited expression as she stared at his face and called him big brother. Chapter 36-23. The young girl was dressed in a light green robe, and her slightly curly long hair was draped behind her back. She looked to be about 15 or 16 years old, and her large, bright eyes were staring at Duan Lingtian. Her slightly youthful face was filled with excitement. A beautiful woman stood behind the young girl. She had a cold aura, and when she looked at Duan Lingtian, her face was filled with astonishment. Brother! While Duan Lingtian was still in a daze, the young girl had already turned into a gust of wind and rushed over to hug Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian originally wanted to dodge, but when he saw the excitement in the young girl's eyes that came from the bottom of her heart and the tears that splashed out, he did not dodge in the end and allowed the young girl to pounce on him and hug him. However, his hands stiffly lifted up as he said in a slightly embarrassed manner, Did you get the wrong person? Duan Lingtian was certain that he had never seen this young girl before. But why did she call him brother? Moreover, the young girl's emotions were not feigned. Could it be that this young girl's brother was someone who looked like him? The young girl's behavior attracted the attention of many passers-by. However, most of them were in a hurry, and no one stopped to watch the show. For a moment, Duan Lingtian and the other 2 became the only figures standing still in the crowd on the street. The other person was the beautiful woman, following behind the young girl. Brother Lingtian, don't you want to acknowledge little you anymore? The young girl raised her head, and her watery eyes were filled with grievance. Little you misses you a lot. Little you has been in Tianfeng City for many years, and it's all for the sake of meeting you today. Brother didn't lie to little you. Little you was really able to meet brother at the Zhou clan's trading house in Tianfeng City. The young girl spoke again, and Duan Lingtian was completely petrified. Could it be that the young girl's brother who looked like him was also called Lingtian? However, what did the young girl mean by her last words? Based on her words, was he the one who asked her to appear here? Or perhaps, it was that big brother Lingtian, who looked very similar to him who instructed her to do so? Miss Young Master Duan, let's find a place to catch up. At the same time, the beautiful woman who followed the young girl, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke. It would have been better if she hadn't opened her mouth, but the moment she did, it immediately caused Duan Lingtian's heart to tremble once again. The young girl's older brother, who looked similar to him, was also called Duan Lingtian? Was there such a coincidence in this world? Duan Lingtian found it hard to believe. Yes, let's find a place first. Duan Lingtian also spoke up. There were so many people on the street that it was not appropriate for them to continue blocking the way. Only then did the young lady reluctantly leave Duan Lingtian's embrace. However, one of her hands still held onto Duan Lingtian's arm, very naturally and unpretentiously. Her intimate appearance did not seem to be fake at all. Duan Lingtian could also feel the girl's joy and determination. This made him even more bewildered and confused. What was going on? We can enter the wing of the Zhou clan's auction now. Miss, aren't you interested in the Zhou clan's auction? Let young Master Duan come with us. The beautiful woman said to the young girl. When the young girl heard the beautiful woman's words, she glanced at her and hesitated to speak. However, when she saw the beautiful woman gently shaking her head, she did not say anything in the end. Instead, she looked at Duan Lingtian with a smile and said, Brother Lingtian, let's go to the wing of the Zhou clan's auction to chat. Under normal circumstances, Duan Lingtian would definitely reject an invitation from a stranger. However, the enthusiasm of the young girl in front of him, and the fact that she actually knew his name, made him let his guard down a little. At the same time, it also made him curious. Who was she? How did she know his name? Why did she say that he was the one who asked her to look for him? All of this made Duan Lingtian feel incredulous. As for whether the other party was plotting something against him, Duan Lingtian rejected the idea in his heart. This was because he could be said to be a newcomer to the profound Handle land. No one knew his origins. The only people who knew his name were the people of Mountain Overlook City. The people of Mountain Overlook City all knew that he was a disciple of the Heaven Illumination sect, and was not to be trifled with. They would definitely not dare to have any thoughts about him. However, the young girl and the beautiful woman in front of him gave him an unfathomable feeling. Such people were probably not people who the people of Mountain Overlook City could contact. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the end, out of curiosity, Duan Lingtian could not help but extend his divine consciousness with the intention of probing the young girl and the beautiful woman. However, he discovered that when his divine consciousness landed on them, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. He could not detect anything. After all, he was a lesser god. Even a higher god like the Qian clan's ancestor, Qian Shuhuan, whom he had met in Mountain Overlook City, could not make him feel this way. As such, there was only one explanation. The young girl and the beautiful woman in front of him might be existences above the god-king realm. While Duan Lingtian was probing the beautiful woman and the young girl with his divine consciousness, the two girls looked at each other. The beautiful woman did not seem surprised, but the depths of the young girl's eyes were filled with shock. At the same time, they sent a message to the beautiful woman. Aunt Xian, Brother Lingtian's cultivation. The shock in the young girl's eyes only gradually faded when the beautiful woman replied. So that's how it is. I understand everything. At this moment, the young girl thought of many things that she had been puzzled about in the past, were all made clear at this moment. Brother, you must have come here for the Zhou clan's auction, right? It just so happens that Aunt Xian has already bought the tickets for the side room. You don't need to buy another ticket. In the blink of an eye, the young girl seemed to have changed into a different person. She became much more lively, and when she looked at Duan Lingtian, the shock in her eyes disappeared without a trace. Duan Lingtian naturally noticed the change in the young girl's attitude, but he did not know why. However, he was indeed here for the Zhou clan's auction. Therefore, he did not decline, and went to the Zhou clan's auction with the beautiful woman and the beautiful woman. They entered a side room on the second floor of the Zhou clan's auction. The word 9 was hung outside the side room, and it was obvious that this was the Zhou clan's auction's private room number 9. The private room was very spacious, and there was a row of windows on one side that could be opened. In front of the windows, there was a row of seats arranged side by side. Sitting on the seats, one could see the situation in the auction through the windows. You. Who are you? After entering the private room, Duan Lingtian sat to one side and looked at the young girl and the beautiful woman. You must have mistaken me for someone else. Yes, we have mistaken you for someone else. Before the young girl could say anything, the beautiful woman nodded. I'm sorry, you look too much like someone we know. You can even say that you look exactly the same. I'm Yu Qiushuan. How should I address you, little brother? Yu Qiushuan acted as though nothing had happened as she asked Duan Lingtian with a smile. Duan Lingtian did not reply to her. Instead, he looked at her suspiciously before looking at the young girl beside Yu Qiushuan. You clearly called out my name just now. Could it be that you really know someone called Duan Lingtian, who looks exactly like me? To be able to mistake someone for someone else meant that they were very similar, or even exactly the same. It was not strange for people to look alike. However, the strange thing was that not only did the young girl before him call him Big Brother, she even said his name. Besides that, the beautiful woman before him even said his surname, and addressed him as Young Master Duan. You're also called Duan Lingtian? Before the young girl could say anything, Yu Qiushuan spoke again with a surprised tone. What a coincidence! Coincidence? Duan Lingtian and Yu Qiushuan looked straight at each other. He did not believe that there was such a coincidence. However, after staring at Yu Qiushuan for a long time, he still could not find any clues. At this moment, he knew that it would not be easy for him to find out the truth of the matter. However, Duan Lingtian did not give up. He looked at the young girl and asked, Tell me, did you really recognize the wrong person? Duan Lingtian's gaze was burning like fire, causing the young girl to avoid looking at him. However, when the beautiful woman glanced at the young girl, at an angle that Duan Lingtian did not notice, the young girl's gaze suddenly became firm. When she turned to look at Duan Lingtian again, she nodded. I have indeed recognized the wrong person. Brother, I'm sorry. The young girl apologized softly, since even the young girl had said so. Even if Duan Lingtian still felt that something was amiss, he knew he would not be able to find out anything. He frowned and did not ask any more questions. He became completely silent as he stared blankly at the auction venue outside. Brother, let's get to know each other again. My name is Ling Xiaoyu. After a hint of guilt flashed through the young girl's eyes, she looked at Duan Lingtian again, as if she had gathered her courage. Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian glanced at the young girl, and a bright light flashed through his eyes. She also had the surname Ling. Could it really be a coincidence? The brother she spoke of, Duan Lingtian, could it be that he was her blood-related brother? Could it be that she is father's illegitimate daughter outside? This was the first thought that appeared in Duan Lingtian's mind at this moment. However, just as this thought appeared, it was extinguished by him. Impossible. This is the land of profound handle. It is impossible for father to have come here, and even more impossible for him to leave an illegitimate daughter here. Moreover, this Ling Xiaoyu, although she looks young, her cultivation is most likely at the Divine King realm or above. If she is really father's illegitimate daughter, what level of existence would the woman who left her with father be? That kind of person would fancy my father? Right now, it was also Duan Lingtian's thoughts that Duan Ruffing did not know, otherwise, he would definitely not be able to resist scolding him. Thinking up to here, Duan Lingtian felt that he was even more confused. In the end, he could only go along with what the other two said, and treat all of this as a misunderstanding that could not be any more coincidental. Other than this, there was no other explanation. Although, he faintly realized that the two people in front of him knew the truth. However, if the other party did not say anything, there was nothing he could do. Brother Lingtian. Brother. Little Yu's brother has already left Little Yu for a long time. In the future, Little Yu will also call you brother, okay? Ling Xiaoyu looked at Duan Lingtian with teary eyes and asked pitifully. Chapter 36-24. Alright. Duan Lingtian found it hard to reject Duan Xiaoyu's pitiful appearance. Duan Lingtian's heart softened and he agreed. Duan Xiaoyu beamed with joy when she received Duan Lingtian's permission. She moved to the seat next to Duan Lingtian and sat down. At the same time, she stretched out her hand and held Duan Lingtian's arm as she leaned her head on Duan Lingtian's shoulder. Duan Lingtian could feel that Duan Xiaoyu's attachment to him was indeed a pure attachment between siblings, and it was not mixed with any other feelings. This feeling was very similar to when he was with Xuan'ai. Yu Qiushuan, who was standing nearby, saw Duan Xiaoyu's actions. She wanted to stop her, but after a moment of hesitation, a hint of pity flashed in her eyes. She allowed Duan Xiaoyu to sit next to Duan Lingtian and hold Duan Lingtian's arm intimately. Soon after, she looked at Duan Lingtian with a complicated expression on her face. At this moment, only she knew what she was thinking. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. Duan Xiaoyu sat next to Duan Lingtian and held his arm as she chatted with him. Most of the time, she was asking Duan Lingtian questions. Brother, are you from Heavenly Wind City? Duan Lingtian shook his head. He did not lie to her. He told her he was from a Devata realm and had been in the Mystic Handle land for 1,000 years. After all, his bone age was close to 2,700 years old, so it was not a big deal for him to lie. He could not tell her he had only recently arrived in the Mystic Star land through the realm battlefield, right? If he told her that, how could he explain he had opened the spatial barrier in the realm battlefield? In addition, the reason why he didn't lie to Duan Xiaoyu was because the origins of Duan Xiaoyu and Yu Qiushuan were too mysterious. Moreover, they were suspected to be existences above the Divine King realm. They might even be related to the God Emperor sect, Heavenly Illumination sect. When he was in Mountain Overlook City, he could lie and say that he was a disciple of the Heaven Illumination sect. However, in front of the two people in front of him, there was a high chance that he would be exposed. Wow. Brother, is the Devata realm fun? Brother, you're actually an ascender. While Duan Lingtian was questioning Duan Xiaoyu enthusiastically, Yu Qiushuan, who was seated on the other side, remained calm and unperturbed when faced with Duan Lingtian's response to Duan Xiaoyu. She gave off a misconception, as though she already knew all of this. Of course, he didn't seem to care too much about this. Duan Xiaoyu was like a curious baby, asking all sorts of questions in front of Duan Lingtian. Only when the host announced that the auction was about to begin did Duan Xiaoyu stop asking questions. However, she had a satisfied expression on her face. It was as though she was satisfied that Duan Lingtian was able to chat with her for so long. It's actually full. It seems like the divine royal grade cultivation method is quite tempting to the people around Heavenly Wind City. Duan Xiaoyu said with a smile as she sat next to Duan Lingtian and looked at the auction venue outside the window. Brother, what do you think? Duan Xiaoyu asked as she looked at Duan Lingtian. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. At this moment, his attention was also focused on the auction outside. At this moment, the auction venue of the Zhou clan's auction was bustling with people. A beautiful woman dressed in gorgeous clothes stood on the high platform in front of the auction venue. Her eyes were as clear as water, and it seemed as though they would melt at the touch of her eyes. Time did not seem to have left any traces on her face. She was the host of the Zhou clan's auction today. Zhou Yin? Just now, when the host announced that the auction was about to begin, she introduced herself as Zhou Yin. At the same time, many people in the auction venue were talking among themselves. I didn't expect the Zhou clan to send Elder Zhou Yin to personally host the auction this time. Elder Zhou Yin is one of the higher deities in the Zhou clan, who is closest to the godly king realm. This shows how much importance the Zhou clan places on this auction. In the past, they would at most send an intermediate deity or an ordinary higher deity to host the auction. Of course, after all, the 6 God afterimages technique, a divine royal grade cultivation method that has been missing for a long time, will be auctioned in this auction. The Zhou clan is really bold. They took out such a cultivation method just like that. They have to be bold. If the Zhou clan is exposed for secretly keeping a divine royal grade cultivation method, it will be a devastating blow to them. It's almost impossible for a godly king grade force to keep a divine royal grade cultivation method. That's true. But not every godly king grade force would be willing to do this after obtaining a divine royal grade cultivation method. In the past, let alone the profound Handle land, even in the history of our Tunglung province, there were many godly king grade forces that were destroyed because of a divine royal grade cultivation method. Although Duan Lingtian had heard many people mention this when he was outside, he knew that it was impossible. However, he could not help but feel nervous when he heard about it. Perhaps, the realm of gods was crueler than he had imagined. A mere divine royal grade cultivation method was enough to annihilate a godly king grade force with a deep foundation. He could imagine what would happen if the treasures in his possession, such as the 5 divine elements, prominent divine weapons with artifact souls, and godly venerable grade cultivation methods were exposed. For a moment, Duan Lingtian became even more cautious. This time, Wind City has welcomed many distinguished guests from the outside world. I, Zhou Yin, represent the Zhou clan in Wind City to welcome all distinguished guests. The voice of the Zhou clan's elder Zhou Yin, who was in charge of this auction, rang out once again. At the same time she, who was standing on the auction stage, swept her gaze across the few rooms upstairs. As she spoke, she revealed a respectful expression and bowed respectfully. I only hope that no matter which clan obtains the divine royal grade cultivation method, the other clans will not make a move in the Zhou clan's trading house, or even in Wind City. As soon as Zhou Yun spoke, the atmosphere in the auction hall fell silent. Many of the people present were here to join in the fun. However, when they heard Zhou Yun's words, they could not help but feel chills running down their spines. No matter which godly king grade force obtained the divine royal grade cultivation method, the other godly king grade forces would not let it go so easily. At that time, if a fight broke out, it would be a disaster for them and the people of Wind City. Godly King grade forces. Even if there were only godly kings among the godly king grade forces, once they made a move, it would still be earth-shattering. Elder Zhou Yin, don't worry. At this time, a loud and dignified voice came from one of the rooms. Wind City does not only have your Zhou clan, but also my Hidden Fog Academy. If anyone dares to make a move in Wind City, they will be trampling on the dignity of my Hidden Fog Academy. I, Morong Suifeng, will not let them go. Morong Suifeng. This name wasn't unfamiliar to Duan Ling Tian, because he'd heard of this name on more than one occasion since arriving at Skywind City. Morong Suifeng was the dean of the Hidden Fog Academy. He was also one of the 2 vice sect masters of the Hidden Fog sect. It was said that a long time ago, his cultivation had already stepped into the Upper God King realm. Now, he might have already become a divine emperor. Of course, becoming a divine emperor was only a guess of outsiders. As for the truth, only Morong Suifeng himself and some of the higher-ups of the Hidden Fog sect knew. Moreover, it was not so easy to break through to the divine emperor realm. With Dean Morong's words, I and the Zhou clan can rest assured. On the auction stage, hearing Morong Suifeng's words, Zhou Yin let out a sigh of relief. A brilliant smile bloomed on her face. At this time, the group of people in the auction venue also calmed down one by one. I didn't expect that even Dean Morong would come. Looks like we don't have to worry about someone daring to make a move at the auction, or even within Tianfeng City. Dean Morong actually came personally. Could it be that the Hidden Fog sect also wants that divine emperor level cultivation method? It's possible. Dean Morong might have come for that divine emperor level cultivation method. Not necessarily, right? Wind City can be said to be the Hidden Fog sect's territory. If the Hidden Fog sect really wants that divine emperor level cultivation method, the Zhou clan would definitely be willing to do them a favor, right? As many people were whispering to each other out of curiosity, an old voice sounded out from another box. Morong Suifeng. Could it be that your Hidden Fog sect is also interested in that divine sovereign level cultivation method? And who are you? Morong Suifeng lightly asked. I am the 10,000 Demon sect's second elder, Han Ligong. The old voice continued to sound out. Never heard of you. Morong Suifeng lightly said. Moreover, you aren't qualified to speak to me. You, the 10,000 Demon sect's second elder, Han Ligong, was a tall and sturdy old man wearing a black robe. He had a head full of white hair. When he heard Morong Suifeng's words, he suddenly stood up from his seat. His body emitted a terrifying strength that instantly turned the tables and chairs in the room into dust. Beside him, 2 middle-aged men hurriedly retreated. They activated their methods to protect themselves. At the same time, they looked at Han Ligong with helpless expressions. This second elder's temper was still as bad as before. Second elder, you aren't his match. Finally, one of the middle-aged men took the initiative to warn him. I know, I don't need you to tell me. Han Ligong turned around and coldly glanced at the middle-aged man, causing the latter to pale in fright. As for the other middle-aged man, he hurriedly ran out of the room. Second elder, I will have the Zhou clan arrange some new tables and chairs for us. The 10,000 Demon sect was also a divine emperor level sect. They were equally famous as the Hidden Fog sect, and they had always been at odds with each other. And this was also the main reason why the Hidden Fog sect's vice sect master, Morong Suifeng, spoke so rudely to the 10,000 Demon sect's second elder, Han Ligong. Since this person was from an enemy sect, why be polite? Chapter 36-25. The people in the auction hall weren't surprised that the 10,000 Demon sect's second elder Han Ligong had admitted defeat. After all, the two of them weren't on the same level. Although Han Ligong was also a higher god king, he was only slightly stronger than an ordinary higher god king. In front of a veteran higher god king like Morong Suifeng, who might even have become a god emperor, there was simply no comparison. However, the appearance of someone from the 10,000 Demon sect here still surprised many people. The 10,000 Demon sect and the Hidden Fog sect have never been on good terms. They actually came to our Skywind City this time? To a certain extent, our Skywind City is a subordinate city of the Hidden Fog sect. Aren't the people from the 10,000 Demon sect afraid that they won't be able to return? That shouldn't be the case. Although the Hidden Fog sect and the 10,000 Demon sect have some conflicts, they don't dare to rashly attack the people of the 10,000 Demon sect in public. Once they completely anger the 10,000 Demon sect, it won't be a good thing for the Hidden Fog sect. No matter what, it can be seen that the people from the 10,000 Demon sect are very interested in the God Emperor level cultivation method, the 6 God Afterimage art. The conflict between the 10,000 Demon sect's second elder Han Ligong and the Hidden Fog sect's vice sect master Morong Suifeng could only be considered a small interlude in today's Zhou family auction. As the Zhou family auction took out the first auction item, the entire auction hall's attention was drawn to it. Everyone, this is the first auction item of our Zhou family auction this time. On the auction stage, as the Zhou family's elder Zhou Yin spoke, everyone's attention fell on her. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Zhou Yin took out a pill bottle from her storage ring. She laughed and said, "In this pill bottle, there are 3 divine pills. They are the first divine pill, second divine pill, and third divine pill. As everyone knows, these 3 divine pills don't have much of an effect when taken separately. They are no different from ordinary divine pills when it comes to assisting the cultivation of a god spirit. But if they are taken together, they can have a miraculous effect. It's said that the more profound the technique one cultivates, the further one will be able to tap into the medicinal effects of these 3 divine pills. The emperor-level techniques of emperor-level sects can even allow a deity who has just stepped into the realm of lesser deity to break through to the realm of intermediate deity in one go by consuming these 3 divine pills. As for the legendary godly venerable level cultivation techniques, it's said that they can even allow intermediate deities to break through to the higher deity level in one go by consuming them. Even if they don't have the God Emperor level and God Venerable level techniques to rely on, a God Spirit level cultivator can still improve their cultivation by quite a bit after consuming these 3 divine pills. I can use these 3 divine pills myself, or I can buy them for my juniors. I think they'll be a great gift." The moment Zhou Yin opened her mouth to talk about the first auction item of the Zhou clan's auction, she spoke with fervor and assurance. By the end of her speech, the atmosphere in the auction hall had completely ignited. This was because the eyes of many gods and god kings had lit up. The success rate of refining any one of the Jia, Yi, and Bing divine pills is not high. It's not easy to gather all 3 types of divine pills. Other than godly emperor-level forces, ordinary forces, and even god-king-level forces would find it difficult to take out all 3 types of divine pills at the same time. Now there's a great opportunity in front of all of you. The Jia, Yi, and Bing divine pills will be auctioned as a bundle. The starting bid is 3,000 taels of divine stones. Every bid must be at least 1,000 taels of divine stones. While many people's eyes were sparkling, and they were ready to make a move, the Zhou clan's elder, Zhou Yin, who was in charge of the auction, finally began the first auction item of the Zhou clan's auction, under the anticipation of the crowd. 3,000 taels of divine stones. Almost as soon as Zhou Yin finished speaking, someone in the auction hall was the first to make a bid. The atmosphere of the Zhou clan's auction today was once again pushed to the peak. 4,000 taels of divine stones. Before Zhou Yun could even open her mouth, another voice rang out from another corner of the auction hall. It was crisp and clear. This time, after waiting for about a breath's time, another voice rang out in the auction hall. 5,000 taels of divine stones. 5,000 taels of divine stones. This price was more or less the same for the Jia, Yi, and Bing divine pills. After all, if an ordinary person consumed these 3 types of divine pills, even if they were a low-grade divine spirit, it would only speed up their cultivation. After all, not everyone would have an emperor god or godly venerable god cultivation technique to cultivate. This guest has bid 5,000 taels of divine stones. Is there anyone else who wants to make a bid? Zhou Yun asked loudly on the auction stage. Is there no one else who wants to make a bid? 5,000 taels of divine stones going once. Zhou Yun began to count down. If no one made a bid after she counted down to 3, the 3 types of divine pills would be auctioned off to the person who had bid 5,000 taels of divine stones. Are the people in the private rooms upstairs not going to make a bid? At this moment, many people had already turned their heads to look at the private rooms upstairs where only the windows could be seen. 6,000 taels of divine stones. Under the expectant gazes of the people who had turned their heads to look at the person in the private room, a voice that was full of vigor rang out. Many people in the auction hall recognized the voice when they heard it. It's the voice of the 4th master of the Chong family, Zhongxi. It's the voice of the 4th master of the Chong family. The Chong family was one of the divine kings in Tianfeng City. It was as famous as the Zhou family. As for the 4th master of the Chong family, Zhongxi, many people could recognize him just by his voice, because he was in charge of managing the only restaurant in the Chong family's trading center. He often went in and out of restaurants. So many people knew him and were familiar with his voice. It seems like many people recognize my voice. Thank you for your kindness. This time, I hope that everyone can be magnanimous. I'm going to bid for the 3 divine pills for my useless youngest son. When the people in the auction hall recognized Zhongxi, his voice rang out from the private room again. As soon as he spoke, Zhou Yun frowned and said in a deep voice, 4th Master Chong, are you trying to provoke the Zhou family? Isn't it against the rules of the auction to oppress others in public? Or perhaps, the Chong family's auction hall allows us to do so? Zhou Yun naturally did not want Zhongxi to say such words. If someone were to bid against him, it would be tantamount to slapping his face and offending him. There were many people in the auction hall who were of higher status than Zhongxi. However, none of them were interested in a pill like the 3 divine pills. Those who were interested in the pills would not want to offend Zhongxi. Now that Zhongxi had spoken, who would dare to bid against him? Wouldn't that be asking for trouble? Putting aside the fact that Zhongxi was a God King level family clan, the Chong family, even Zhongxi himself was a higher deity with extraordinary strength. Moreover, he was close to becoming a God King level higher deity. Moreover, the profundities that he had comprehended were something that few higher deities in the Chong family could compare to. Haha, Zhongxi laughed loudly. Elder Zhou Yun, please don't misunderstand. I have no intention of breaking the rules of the Zhou family's auction. It's just that I was pleasantly surprised that so many friends recognized me. That's why I said those words subconsciously. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhongxi shouted loudly, friends, let's pretend that I didn't say those words earlier. If any of you still want the 3 divine pills, you can continue to bid. I'm willing to compete fairly. As Zhongxi shouted, his voice suddenly turned cold, chilling to the bone. Anyone with a good ear would be able to hear the threat contained within. After Zhongxi finished speaking, he smiled and asked Zhou Yun, Elder Zhou Yun, are you satisfied now? You. Just as Zhou Yun's expression changed and her gaze turned cold, a young and powerful voice sounded from one of the private rooms. 7,000 taels. As soon as the voice sounded, the smile on the face of a middle-aged man in private room number 6 froze. He raised his hand and smashed the table in front of him. Who is it? How dare you not give me, Zhongxi, any face? Of course, Zhongxi lowered his voice when he spoke. Only the people in the private rooms could hear him. However, that pause sound was transmitted into the ears of everyone in the auction house. Master C, it's the person in private room number 9. An old man behind Zhongxi took 2 steps forward and looked outside before he spoke to Zhongxi in a deep voice. Private room number 9? A cold light flashed in Zhongxi's eyes. Private room number 9 doesn't seem to be a private room for people from Divine Emperor forces, right? It's not. The people from the Deity Emperor level forces are in boxes 1 to 5. The old man spoke again. Good, very good. How dare you oppose me, Zhongxi? A cold light flashed in Zhongxi's eyes again. He softened his voice and bid again. 8,000 taels. This time, although Zhongxi did not say any unnecessary words, his voice contained an even colder chill. His voice swept across the auction venue, causing some of the people with lower cultivations to feel as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Looks like Master Zhongxi is really angry. I wonder who's in private room number 9. Even if Master Zhongxi wins the 3 divine pill with 8,000 taels of divine stones today, I'm afraid he won't let him go so easily. I really don't know what he's thinking. We already said that it's Master Zhongxi, but he still dares to bid. The people in the auction house whispered to each other. Now, most of the people felt that the person in box number 9 would be tactful and stop bidding. After all, the consequences of bidding again would be very cruel. Moreover, if he bid again, 4th Master Tong would most likely not bid again. 8,000 taels of divine stones. This was a very high price for the 3 divine pill. Any higher, and it would be considered a sky-high price. Just as everyone's gazes landed on box number 9, a voice rang out from within box number 9 once again. 10,000 taels. Duan Lingtian, who was sitting in front of the window of private room number 9, calmly bid. He completely ignored the threat in Zhongxi's voice. Chapter 36-26. Duan Lingtian had already heard of the Jia, Yi and Bingsan divine pills back when he was in Mountain Overlook City. If the 3 divine pills were sold separately, each of them could be sold for 1,000 divine stones, which was already considered a sky-high price. However, if they were sold together, 3,000 divine stones was just the base price. Those who needed it were even willing to pay 4,000 or 5,000 divine stones. As for more divine stones, many people did not buy it not because they could not afford it, but because the price was too high and not worth it. However, to Duan Lingtian, the Jia, Yi and Bingsan divine pills were the divine pills he desperately wanted. Once he consumed them, he would be able to break through to the intermediate deity stage, and even advance to the higher deity stage, after becoming an intermediate deity. After all, he cultivated the 1,000 transformations illusionary god technique that his master had imparted to him. He had already applied the 1,000 transformations illusionary god technique to the 9 dragons war sovereign technique, and turned it into a godly venerable level technique. After consuming the 3 divine pill and cultivating a godly venerable level technique, one would be able to perfectly absorb the medicinal power of the 3 divine pill and improve one's cultivation by leaps and bounds. For this reason, let alone 10,000 divine stones, even if it was 20,000 divine stones or 30,000 divine stones, Duan Lingtian would still fork out. He was determined to get the 3 divine pill. Brother. In box number 9, when Duan Lingtian called out the bid of 10,000 divine stones, Duan Xiaoyu, who was sitting beside him and holding his arm, frowned and said, "Brother, do you not believe Little Yu's words? Although Little Yu does not have the 3 divine pill with her now, she can get it from somewhere else. Brother, you don't have to compete with him. Let him have the 8,000 divine stones," said Duan Xiaoyu. "It's fine. I don't lack divine stones." Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled. He did not take it to heart. Earlier, when he called out the bid of 7,000 divine stones, Duan Xiaoyu had already told him that she did not know he wanted the 3 divine pill. If she had known, she would have told him not to bid because she had a way to get the 3 divine pill at a cheaper price. She would definitely get it within 3 months. However, Duan Lingtian couldn't wait that long. It wasn't equal either. Of course, most importantly, he was not lacking in god stones. Right now, he had 190,000 godly stones. A few thousand godly stones were nothing to him. Moreover, he believed that as long as his strength increased, he would be able to obtain more god stones more efficiently. Everything was relative. At the same time, in the auction house, the entire place fell into dead silence when Duan Lingtian announced the price of 10,000 divine stones. Numerous gazes simultaneously landed on the window of booth number 9. Even the Zhou clan's elder Zhou Yun, who was standing on the auction stage and hosting this auction, was no exception. However, she quickly regained her senses and said in a loud voice, "It seems like the guest in box number 9 is determined to get the 3 divinity pill." Now the guest in box number 9 has bid 10,000 divine stones. Is there anyone else who wants to increase the price? Under normal circumstances, Zhou Yun should have started the countdown. However, when she glanced at box number 6 where Zhongxi was, she could not help but ask with a smile, Master Zhongxi, are you going to increase the price? If you're not going to increase the price, I'll start the countdown. Although she was smiling, she did not hide the mockery in her tone at all. Humph. Zhongxi snorted coldly in box number 6 when he heard the mockery in Zhou Yun's tone. However, he did not say anything. After all, the more he said, the more embarrassing it would be. Go and find out who's in box number 9. After Zhongxi snorted coldly, he began to give orders to the people behind him. Yes, Master Zhongxi. The people behind him responded and left. At the same time, Zhou Yun began to count down in the auction house. After 3 counts, no one else made a bid. With that, the first item in the Zhou clan's auction was successfully obtained by Duan Lingtian. When Duan Lingtian saw that he had obtained the item for only 10,000 divine stones, a faint smile appeared on the corner of his lips. At the same time, Zhou Yun, who was outside, passed the pill bottle in her hand to a Zhou clan disciple who had walked up to the stage before she began the auction for the second item. Everyone, the next item to be auctioned is a cultivation method. This cultivation method is a high god level cultivation method. I don't think I need to explain much about this cultivation method. Let me state its starting price. Its starting price is 5,000 divine stones. Now interested guests may begin the auction. Same rules. Each bid must not be less than 1,000 divine stones. A high god level cultivation method could be cultivated to the level of a higher god, as long as the cultivator's innate talent could keep up. It was considered a rare cultivation method in the area around Tianfeng City. Such a cultivation method could be borrowed from the businesses of the 3 great godly king-level clans in Tianfeng City to cultivate. However, the price to pay was not small. Currently, the Zhou clan's auction house was auctioning such a cultivation method. In other words, no matter who obtained this cultivation method, they could lend it to others and earn a lot of money. Moreover, they could earn a lot of money continuously. Of course, this would not work in Tianfeng City. However, if it was brought to a more remote place, it would be in short supply. Due to this reason, as soon as Zhou Yun finished speaking, someone immediately made a bid. 5,000 divine stones. As soon as this person finished speaking, someone else followed suit. 6,000 divine stones. 7,000 divine stones. 8,000 divine stones. Unlike the Jia, Yi and Bing San divine pills earlier, where the subsequent bids were slower, the price of this high god level cultivation method soon exceeded 10,000 divine stones. Moreover, it was still climbing. It only slowed down when it reached 14,000 divine stones. In the end, it was sold to someone at the price of 15,000 divine stones. The person who bought this cultivation method was someone sitting in the auction house, not someone sitting in the private room upstairs. In fact, the people sitting in the private room upstairs did not care for this cultivation method. Dong dong. As soon as the second auction item was sold, there was a knock on the door of private room number 9 that Duan Lingtian was in. At the same time, a voice came from outside. Dear guest, I am from the Zhou clan's auction house. I am here to deliver the auction item. In the Zhou clan's auction house, the private room not only had the advantage of privacy, but it also allowed one to receive the auction item immediately. It was unlike the auction house, where the participants could only receive the item at the end. Come in. As Duan Lingtian spoke, the door to the room was opened, and a middle-aged man with a medium build walked in with an exquisite plate in his hand. Besides a red cloth covering the plate, there was only a medicinal pill bottle on it. It was the pill bottle that Zhou Yun was holding. Dear guest, please verify it. If there is no problem, you can pass the god stone to me directly. The middle-aged man said with a smile. Okay. Duan Lingtian nodded. Then, he glanced at the old man who followed the middle-aged man in. After the old man entered, he seemed to be quietly following behind the middle-aged man. However, as soon as he entered, Duan Lingtian noticed that he glanced at him, Duan Xiaoyu, and Yu Qiushuan. In the end, he changed his expression and followed behind the middle-aged man. Duan Lingtian took the pill bottle and opened it. Based on his memory of the 3 divine pills, after confirming that there was no problem with the item, he took out 10,000 god stones and gave them to the middle-aged man. There is no problem with the item. Here are the god stones. Thank you, dear guest. After the middle-aged man took the god stones, he respectfully stepped back. As for the old man, he also stepped back and left the private room. Then the middle-aged man closed the door. When Duan Lingtian put away the 3 divine pills, the middle-aged man led the old man through the long corridor and into a corner. At this time, the old man who was following behind the middle-aged man casually threw out some god stones. 4th Master Chong doesn't like people who gossip. I'm sure you've heard a lot about this. Pretend that nothing happened today. Otherwise, I can't guarantee your family's safety. The middle-aged man was not a member of the Zhou clan. He was only a member of a small clan under the Zhou clan. Due to his relationship with the Zhou clan, he was able to work in the Zhou clan's auction. Earlier, when he was on his way to the 9th private room with the auction item, he was stopped by someone who claimed to be 4th Master Chong's man. He said he wanted to follow him to the 9th private room to see who was inside. If he was unwilling to bring him in, he would make a move on his family. For the safety of his family, he could only compromise. Don't worry, my lord. I'll keep this matter to myself. The middle-aged man took the god stones and said respectfully, That's good. The old man nodded in satisfaction when he saw the middle-aged man taking the god stones. Then, he returned to the 6th private room. Do you know who they are? In the 6th private room, 4th Master Chong asked impatiently when he saw the old man return. There are 3 unfamiliar faces. I've never seen them before. The old man said. Chong Si's eyes flashed coldly when he heard the old man's words. They should be outsiders. If they're from Tianfeng City, other than the other God King clans, and the Hidden Mist Academy, no one would have the guts to not give me face. Do you remember what they look like? Chong Si asked the old man. Yes. The old man nodded. There's a young man in purple, a young girl, and a woman. However, 4th Master, these 3 don't look like ordinary people. I think it's best not to act rashly before we find out who they are. We don't want to provoke people we shouldn't provoke. The old man couldn't help but advise Chong Si. I know what I'm doing. How could Chong Si not understand the old man's words? He was the 4th Master of the Chong clan. How could he live well until now, and even control the best restaurant under the Chong clan? How could he be a brainless person? In the auction hall, the auction items were taken out one by one, and then taken away. During this process, Duan Lingtian did not bid again. This was because the items that were auctioned during this period of time were things that he was not interested in, and had no use to him. Chapter 36-27. Unknowingly, the Zhou clan's auction came to an end. Before the auction came to an end, many precious items were auctioned. Among them were floating image pearls that recorded the battle between divine kings and divine emperors, as well as some divine artifacts. These items caused many people to compete for them. However, Duan Lingtian was not interested in these items at all. Naturally, he would not waste his divine stones to bid for them. Although he might not be able to obtain them, he could still raise the price. However, if he was not careful, he would lose everything. Don't you have anything you want to bid for? Duan Lingtian glanced at Duan Xiaoyu beside him before glancing at Yu Qiushuan, and asked curiously, Brother. Before Yu Qiushuan could speak, Duan Xiaoyu spoke first. This Zhou clan's auction is not interesting at all. There isn't anything good. However, that divine emperor level cultivation method, do you want it? If you want it, little you can bid for it and give it to brother. As Duan Xiaoyu spoke, she frowned. Unfortunately, the family's cultivation method is not allowed to be passed to outsiders. Otherwise, I would have directly passed the family's cultivation method to brother. Cough cough. Miss, the main event of the Zhou clan's auction is here. Almost at the instant Duan Xiaoyu finished speaking, Yu Qiushuan coughed a few times before intentionally changing the topic. Duan Lingtian glanced at Duan Xiaoyu beside him. Seeing how obedient and cute she was, he could not help but stretch out his hand and pat her head. Just as Duan Lingtian came back to his senses, and felt that his action was a little rude, he discovered that not only was Duan Xiaoyu not unhappy, she even narrowed her eyes as if she was enjoying it. Seeing this, Duan Lingtian gave up on the idea of stopping, and instead rubbed Duan Xiaoyu's head a few times. "Brother, you're messing up my hair again." Duan Xiaoyu blinked her large watery eyes as she spoke to Duan Lingtian angrily. Although her words were filled with complaint, her tone was filled with coquettishness. Duan Lingtian smiled and asked, "Your brother also likes to rub your head like this?" Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Duan Xiaoyu was stunned for a moment. Then her eyes flickered as she nodded. "Yes, brother often touches little Yu's head." Duan Lingtian suddenly understood. At the same time, the auction venue outside was dead silent. Everyone was staring at the storage ring in Elder Zhou Yun's hand on the auction stage. This storage ring had just been given to Zhou Yun. As soon as it landed in Zhou Yun's hands, it attracted a lot of attention because everyone knew that it was the last item of the Zhou clan's auction. It was a Divine Emperor level cultivation method from a Divine Emperor level faction in Tunglung province, the Six Gods Afterimages technique. Everyone, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Yun had already opened her mouth. "In my storage ring, there is the Six Gods Afterimages mantra, the Divine Emperor level Ku family of Tunglung province. This Six Gods Afterimages mantra has a restriction placed by a Divine Emperor. Those who are not Divine Emperors can't break it. If they can't break it, they won't be able to see the contents of the Six Gods Afterimages mantra. Although our Zhou clan can't completely break the restriction on the Six Gods Afterimages mantra, we can be 100% sure that this is the complete version of the Six Gods Afterimages mantra." As Zhou Yun spoke, she dripped a drop of blood on the storage ring in her hand to establish ownership. Then in front of everyone, she took out a dark green jade slip. There was a strange light around the jade slip. It turned green, red and blue at times. The three strange lights intersected, giving people a mysterious feeling. In fact, if you force it, you can break the restriction on this jade slip. But if you do that, the jade slip will be destroyed, and the Six Gods Afterimages mantra will be lost forever. Now, everyone can use their divine consciousness to examine the jade slip in my hand to confirm the authenticity of the Six Gods Afterimages mantra. Upon hearing Zhou Yun's words, the eyes of the people in the auction hall lit up as they extended their divine consciousness to examine the jade slip. Duan Lingtian was no exception. When Duan Lingtian's divine consciousness came into contact with the three strange lights on the jade slip, he received a response from his divine consciousness. It explained the contents of the jade slip, the normal method to break the restriction on the jade slip, and the consequences of breaking the restriction by force. The jade slip indeed contained the Six Gods Afterimages mantra, a Divine Emperor grade cultivation method. Moreover, the restriction on it was set up by the Ku clan, a Divine Emperor clan. Moreover, just as Zhou Yun had said, only a Divine Emperor or stronger would be able to break the restriction on the jade slip. If the restriction on the jade slip was forcefully broken, the Six Gods Afterimages mantra would be destroyed. Celestials from the Devata realms can't be compared to the realms of gods. If a Divine Emperor or ultimate god can set up such a profound formation, wouldn't it be even more powerful if he's a Divine Emperor or ultimate god? Although Duan Lingtian had met some of the natives of the realms of gods before he came to the realms of gods, Duan Lingtian had met some of the natives of the realms of gods. For example, Ker's third uncle, Xiajie, Yun Qingyan, the great young master of the Yun clan, and the Yun clan servants who were sent by Yun Qingyan to kill his master Feng Qingyang. However, when Duan Lingtian met them, they were not as strong as they were in the realms of gods. This was because the natives of the realms of gods' cultivation bases would be suppressed once they left the realms of gods. Those with pure bloodlines could retain more of their cultivation bases. On the other hand, those with impure bloodlines could retain less of their cultivation bases. For example, Xia Jie and Yun Qing Yen could be considered as natives of the realms of gods with pure bloodlines. For this reason, even after they left the realms of gods, they could still wield more than half of their original strength. On the other hand, the Yin clan's servant whom Yun Qing Yin sent to kill Feng Qingyang had his cultivation bases suppressed to the level of a lesser god. Moreover, his comprehension of the profundities of the law was not as good as Feng Qingyang's. Moreover, Feng Qingyang had mastered the sword Dao of the four Dao of heaven and earth. For this reason, he was unable to kill Feng Qingyang. He was only able to force Feng Qingyang into the Azura Hell, one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms. This was the restriction that the supreme powerhouses imposed on the natives of the realms of gods. It was also a tacit agreement between the supreme powerhouses. If the natives of the realms of gods were not restricted, who knew when they would go on a rampage in the Devata realms? At that time, all the Devata realms would be plunged into an abyss of misery and suffering. In fact, it might even affect the mundane realms as well. Currently, most of the supreme powerhouses in the realms of gods were from the mundane realms, or the Devata realms. Only a small number of them were from the realms of gods. For this reason, the supreme powerhouses from the mundane realms and Devata realms were deeply attached to the mundane realms and Devata realms. Therefore, they took the lead in negotiating with the other supreme powerhouses, and came up with a rule that the natives of the realms of gods would have their strength greatly reduced once they left the realms of gods. Naturally, those who came to the realms of gods from the mundane realms and Devata realms would not be affected unless they were targeted by a supreme powerhouse. On the other hand, the natives of the realms of gods had inherited the bloodline of a supreme powerhouse. Therefore, if a supreme powerhouse wanted to restrict them, all they had to do was to use the bloodline connection between them and the natives. On the other hand, those who came to the realms of gods from the mundane realms and Devata realms had no bloodline connection with any supreme powerhouse. A godly emperor actually set a restriction that only godly emperors can undo normally. No wonder the Zhou clan didn't take it for themselves. So there was this restriction. After the group of people in the auction house retracted their divine sense and regained their senses, someone said so. I was thinking that even if the Zhou clan was worried about the news of the divine emperor level technique being leaked, they would at most give it to a few people to cultivate. There was no need to put it up for auction. So it's because of the restriction on it. No one in the Zhou clan can remove this restriction. However, if they ask another divine emperor to remove it, there's a high chance the other party will take it for themselves. I wonder how high the price of a divine emperor grade cultivation method will be. Duan Lingtian finally regained his senses when he heard the discussions in the auction hall. He looked at the auction in front of him with interest. This auction was going to be the most exciting part of the auction. Hurry up and announce the starting price. Someone had already begun to urge him. On the auction stage, Zhou Yun smiled when she saw the commotion caused by the divine emperor grade cultivation method in her hand. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the bidding for this divine emperor grade cultivation method. The starting price for the divine emperor grade cultivation method, the 6 god afterimages technique, is 100,000 divine stones. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Zhou Yun finally announced the starting price for the 6 god afterimages technique. After Zhou Yun's voice fell, a few breaths passed, but no one made a bid. The people in the auction hall began to whisper to each other in confusion. What's going on? Why isn't anyone making a bid? 100,000 divine stones might be an astronomical number to us, but to a divine emperor grade force, it's probably just a drop in the ocean. Let alone a divine emperor grade force. Even a high-level figure in a divine emperor grade force would have several 100,000 divine stones on hand. But what's going on? Didn't they say that including the Hidden Fog sect, there were a total of 5 divine emperor grade forces here? After Zhou Yun announced the starting price, the auction hall fell into a deathly silence. No one made a bid. This was awkward. No one made a bid for such a precious treasure? Including the Zhong family's 4th master Zhongxi in the 6th box, as well as some other divine king grade forces in the other boxes. They all began to stir. Great leader, Aren't you going to make a bid? Did we come here this time for the Divine Emperor grade cultivation method, the 6 God afterimages technique? In the 12th box, a robust old man asked a middle-aged man sitting next to him. The middle-aged man had a hideous scar on the left side of his face. As he sat there, his entire body involuntarily emitted a murderous aura. I would like to bid for it. However, reality prevents me from doing so. The middle-aged man with the scar sighed, and his face revealed waves of helplessness. Chapter 36-28. Big Leader, could it be that some God Emperor level force is threatening you? The old man's eyes narrowed when he heard the middle-aged man sigh. He said angrily, which Divine Emperor force is so overbearing? Aren't they afraid that we, the Blood Saber Alliance, will play guerrilla warfare with them and attack their juniors? Don't tell me they're going to keep guarding in front of their juniors? Can their descendants not step out of their sex for the rest of their lives? The Bloodblade Alliance was a bandit force around Wen City. Moreover, it was a God King level bandit force. Even the God King level clans in Wen City kept a respectful distance from such a bandit force. They didn't dare to provoke them. Even some God Emperor level forces didn't want to offend such a bandit force. Bandits were the synonym for without a fixed residence. Normally, a monk could run away but the temple couldn't. However, bandits were different. They weren't afraid of offending you, and they wouldn't mistreat themselves just because they weren't your match. If they weren't your match, they could attack your juniors. Moreover, they would kill them. Then, they would run far away, so that you wouldn't be able to find them for revenge. Hearing the old man's words, the middle-aged man shook his head. It's not a God Emperor level force that is threatening me. It's all the God Emperor level forces that are threatening me. Otherwise I and even you won't be able to leave Wen City. The middle-aged man's words caused the old man's expression to change. At the same time he asked with fear, including Morong Suifeng? Morong Suifeng was the vice sect master of a God Emperor level sect, the Hidden Fog sect. He was also the dean of the Hidden Fog Academy. Without a doubt, he had the highest status and was also the strongest. The reason why the old man asked him was because he was afraid of him. Yes, the middle-aged man nodded. The Hidden Fog Academy and the Hidden Fog sect are also among them. Damn it! The old man's expression changed. These God Emperor level forces are too shameless. Now he finally knew why the leader of the Bloodblade Alliance would give up on the God Emperor level cultivation method. It turned out that the God Emperor level forces had joined forces to target the Bloodblade Alliance. Furthermore, based on the current situation, it was clear that the other God King level bandits were being targeted as well. On the auction stage, Zhou Yun's face was pale. Could it be that the film was going to be passed off? One had to know that the reason the Zhou clan took out the Deity Emperor level 6 Gods Afterimages mantra was not only because they had no way to use it, but also because they wanted to get rid of this hot potato. However, if this cultivation method was not sold today, the world would know that the Zhou clan had this Divine Emperor level cultivation method. To the Zhou family, this was not only a bad thing, but also a disaster. Taking a deep breath, Zhou Yun secretly sent out a message, and this message was sent to the Divine King expert, who guarded the Zhou clan's transaction hall. This Divine King expert was also one of the Zhou clan's ancestors who still remained in Wen City. He looked extremely old, as if he only had a few days left to live. When the old man received the message, he was fishing in front of a pond in the courtyard of the Zhou family's trading house. After receiving Zhou Yun's message, the old man's eyes narrowed slightly as a cold light flashed in them. It seems that those clans have already discussed this matter. Otherwise, even if the God Kings of Tianfeng City do not dare to participate in the auction, those bandits would not be afraid. Lower the starting price, 10,000 divine stones. The old man quickly replied to Zhou Yun. At the same time he replied, the fishing rod in the old man's hand snapped in half. Although he seemed to be calm, waves of cold air spread under his feet. In the blink of an eye, the water in the pond in front of him was completely frozen. This Divine King ancestor of the Zhou clan was clearly skilled in the laws of ice. At the Zhou clan's auction, Zhou Yun, who had received the message from his ancestor, quickly announced in a clear voice. In view of the fact that no one is participating in the auction of the Divine Emperor Level 6 God's Afterimages mantra, I have just reported this matter to our ancestor, and he has asked me to lower the starting price. Now the starting price of the 6 Gods Afterimages mantra is 10,000 divine stones. As soon as Zhou Yun finished speaking, the entire auction venue was thrown into an uproar as expected. Even the Zhou clan's ancestor was alarmed. One had to know that in the Zhou clan, the only people who could be called ancestor were those few divine kings. Moreover, there was something else that shocked them even more. After the 6 Gods Afterimages mantra's starting price of 10,000 divine stones, not only did the Zhou clan's auction not allow it to go unsold, but they even lowered the starting price of the Divine Emperor level mantra from 10,000 divine stones to 10,000 divine stones. Even those who were not in the private rooms would be able to afford the price of 10,000 divine stones. Many people were tempted to bid for it. However, when they heard the voice that rang in their ears, they immediately dismissed the idea. At the same time, they broke out in cold sweat. What happened today is very strange. A Divine Emperor level force actually doesn't want this mantra? Why do I feel like they've discussed this beforehand? If anyone wins this mantra, they might be killed immediately. The Zhou clan is willing to lower the starting price in order to sell this mantra. It's obvious that they know it's a hot potato. Of course, if the Zhou clan keeps this mantra, it won't take long before an expert comes knocking on their door to take it away. Even the Zhou clan was afraid of being dragged down by the Divine Emperor level mantra. After realizing this, no one in the auction house dared to bid for it anymore. They were afraid that they would lose their bid if they bid for it. In private room number 9, Duan Lingtian's gaze through the window became a little deep. Although he did not like the 6 Gods Afterimages mantra, and was not interested in bidding for it, he knew that this mantra would definitely cause a commotion here. However, to the people present, what they cared more about was not this mantra but their own lives. What's the point of bidding for this mantra, and then losing their lives? Therefore, only those Divine Emperor level forces and Divine King level bandits would dare to bid for this mantra. The Divine King level clans in Tianfeng City, including the Zhou clan and the Zhong clan, would definitely not dare to bid for this mantra. In order to sell this mantra, the Zhou clan had lowered the starting price of the mantra from 10,000 divine stones to 10,000 divine stones. Most of the people present could afford 10,000 divine stones. But now no one bid. He knew that behind this scene, the Divine Emperor level forces were definitely playing tricks. Perhaps they had reached some kind of tacit agreement and had already discussed it. And the truth was just as Duan Lingtian had guessed. The Hidden Fog sect, Thousand Demon sect, and the other Divine Emperor level forces present, under the lead of a Divine Emperor level force, had completed the distribution of the Divine Emperor level 6 Gods Afterimages mantra. They had joined forces to intimidate the Divine King level bandits. Then, they planned to obtain this mantra without spending 1 or 2 divine stones, and then share it. Otherwise, if the 5 Divine Emperor level forces fought over it, they would definitely fight until their heads bled. Those who obtained it would have to spend a lot of divine stones. And those who did not, although they would save divine stones, they would also miss out on this Divine Emperor level mantra. For better or for worse, this is a Divine Emperor level mantra, and no one wants it for 10,000 divine stones. At this time, Duan Xiaoyu, who was standing beside Duan Lingtian, spoke with a hint of surprise in her voice. In the next moment she laughed again. Since no one wants it, I'll just casually keep it. 10,000 divine stones for this mantra. It can be sold for at least a few 100,000 divine stones, or even 1,000,000 divine stones. As soon as her voice fell, she opened her mouth to bid. 10,000 divine stones. Duan Xiaoyu's voice rang out in the silent auction hall. It was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples, causing a great sensation, and causing the entire auction hall to be in an uproar. Someone has bid. It's the person in box number 9. Box number 9 hasn't bid since he won the first item, the Jia Yi Bing San Divine Pill. I didn't expect him to bid at this time. Heavens! To bid at this time, does he want to offend those divine emperor-level forces? The person who bid doesn't seem to be the person just now. Judging from the voice, it's obviously a little girl. While the crowd was in an uproar, Duan Lingtiang glanced at Duan Xiaoyu, who was next to him, and then at Yu Qiushuan, who was sitting not far away. He saw that she was calm, and had no intention of stopping Duan Xiaoyu. For a moment, he vaguely realized a problem. Whether it was Duan Xiaoyu or Yu Qiushuan, they did not seem to be afraid of those divine emperor-level forces. The guest in box number 9 has bid 10,000 divine stones. At this time, Zhou Yun, who was on the auction stage, finally heaved a sigh of relief when she heard someone bid. At the same time, she said excitedly, "If no one bids, I'll start the countdown." For Zhou Yun, her mission today was to sell this divine emperor-level mantra. It did not matter who would buy it. In fact, to the Zhou family, it didn't matter how much it cost to sell it. The most important thing was to sell it. If they did not sell it, it would be a disaster for the Zhou clan. 10,000 divine stones going once. Zhou Yun's tone was urgent, as though she was afraid the guest in box number 9 would regret his decision. At the same time, the crowd in the auction hall gradually regained their senses. Heavens! Someone actually bid. And it doesn't seem to be someone from a divine emperor-level force. It sounds like a little girl's voice. Could it be that the person in box number 9 brought a little girl here for fun? I don't think so. If it was just for fun, the person in box number 9 would have explained it. 10,000 divine stones going twice. When Zhou Yun bid again, everyone was curious about the identity of the person in box number 9. Who was it that dared to interfere at this time? Humph! In the private room where the people from the 10,000 Demons sect were, the second elder of the 10,000 Demons sect, Han Ligong, suddenly let out a cold harumph. "Little girl, do you know what you're doing will bring disaster to yourself, your sect, and your family?" Chapter 36-29. As soon as Han Ligong finished speaking, he began to bid 20,000 divine stones. However, when he bid, there was a chill in his voice. He was clearly threatening Duan Xiaoyu in private room number 9. In private room number 9, Duan Xiaoyu faintly smiled when she heard Han Ligong's threat. "This damned old man actually dares to threaten me. 100,000 divine stones." Duan Xiaoyu bid again, and this time, she bid 100,000 divine stones. This was also the starting price set by the Zhou family for the divine emperor-level cultivation method, the 6 god afterimage art. However, no one bid at that time. "What do you say now?" Han Ligong's expression changed when he saw that the other party had not only ignored his threat, but also offered a price of 100,000 godly stones. He contacted the other 4 godly emperor-level forces and said, "Just now, we agreed to not spend a single godly stone. The Zhou clan will give the godly emperor-level cultivation technique to any of us." But now, a little girl suddenly appeared and interfered in the auction of the divine emperor-level cultivation method, the 6 god afterimage art. Why don't we wait for her to get the cultivation method, and then make a move on her, and seize the 6 god afterimage art? After saying this, Han Ligong gave his suggestion. "Do you think that she doesn't know that we are the ones behind the 6 god afterimage art, when no one bid? Since she dares to bid, she must have her own confidence." The Hidden Fog sect's vice sect master, who was also the dean of the Hidden Fog Academy, Morong Suifeng, said, "Then you mean we should bid with her?" As Han Ligong asked, he frowned. "I think Dean Morong's words make sense. Since that little girl dares to bid, it means that she has her own confidence. Let's bid with her. Let's bid. At most, how much money we get in the end, the 5 of us will share it equally. As for the cultivation method, we will share it according to the previous agreement." The other 3 divine emperor-level forces also expressed their opinions after Han Ligong. Their thoughts were no different from Han Ligong's. What if that little girl is just deliberately mystifying and doesn't have any background? Han Ligong asked. "After this auction we can test her," one person said. For a moment, Han Ligong no longer had any questions. He wanted to test the other party. If she really did have an extraordinary background, then this matter would be left unsettled. But if she was just deliberately mystifying things, then forget about him and the 10,000 devil sect behind him. Even the other 4 Divine Emperor level forces would not let her go. Old Han, why don't you represent us and bid with her? No matter what, let's get the cultivation technique first, said a person from a Divine Emperor level force. The people from the other 2 Divine Emperor level influences also agreed. Although the Hidden Fog sect's Morong Suifeng didn't say anything, he didn't deny it either. It was clear that he tacitly agreed. Alright, I'll play with this little girl. At the same time, a cold light flashed through Han Li's eyes as he made his bid. 110,000 divine stones. The originally noisy auction venue suddenly quieted down at this moment. Just a moment ago, someone from room 9 had bid 100,000 godly stones, and as expected they were shocked. At the same time, they were a little puzzled. Since this person wanted 100,000 godly stones, why didn't he bid just now? Someone from box 9? In box 6, the Chong family's 4th master Chong Si frowned. Then who is the person in box 9? He actually dares to openly go against the Divine Emperor level forces? Is he not afraid of death? 4th master, we might have misjudged him. The old man behind Chong Si smiled bitterly. Let's wait and see. Maybe he's a prop that the Zhou family found. Chong Si said. The Zhou family is so bold? The old man was shocked. If he's really a prop, isn't the Zhou family afraid that the Divine Emperor level forces will blame them? Since he's a prop, then he must be prepared to die. Even if he dies, he won't betray the Zhou family. Chong Si shook his head. And the Zhou family will only believe people who are prepared to die. Of course, if this person dies, his family will definitely be taken care of by the Zhou family. Or when he came, the Zhou family had already arranged his funeral. Of course, Chong Si knew that this was just his guess. As for whether this was the truth or not, he wasn't sure. 1 million divine stones. As the somewhat tender female voice rang out once again, the entire auction venue, which was originally filled with some noise, suddenly quietened down at this moment. It was as silent as death. Even Duan Lingtian, who was in room number 9, was shocked by Duan Xiaoyu's bid. 1 million divine stones? Even if he added all the divine stones in his possession together, he only had 180,000 taels of silver. It was not even 20% of 1 million divine stones. This little girl actually had so many divine stones? However, when he thought about it again, this little girl and the beautiful woman next to her should be at the Divine King stage or above. It was normal for them to have 1 million divine stones, since their backgrounds were not ordinary. However, Duan Lingtian's relief did not mean the others were relieved. On the auction stage in the Zhou clan's auction square, Zhou Yun, the Zhou clan's elder who was in charge of hosting the auction, had a dumbfounded expression on her face. Earlier, when the guest in room number 9 bid 100,000 divine stones, she had thought the guest was someone the Zhou clan's auction house hired to raise the price. However, now that the other party had made another bid, she had completely dismissed that thought. Even a prop would not dare to bid such a price. This was close to the normal price of a Divine Emperor level cultivation method. It was impossible for it to be sold at such a price in Tianfeng City. Even though the Zhou clan could sell the skill outside, they would have to take a huge risk, because there were many powerful forces out there. Not to mention the great supreme god forces. Even the godly emperor forces were stronger than the godly emperor forces around Tianfeng City. The few divine emperor forces around Tianfeng City were just ordinary divine emperor forces. They were not as powerful as the top divine emperor forces. 1 million divine stones. Only the sound of people inhaling cold air could be heard in the auction venue. In room number 6, the 4th master of the Zhong clan, Zhong Si, suddenly stood up from his seat. His expression was solemn, and his eyes were filled with fear. When the other party had bid 1 million divine stones, he had realized that it could not be the Zhou clan's prop. It seems like I won't have the chance to seek revenge on that boy. Thinking of the young man who had stolen the Jia Bing San divine pill from him, Zhong Si sighed. If the people around him were not mistaken, The girl who had just bid was also leaning against the young man. The two of them looked like siblings. Zhongxi could not afford to offend such a person. The other God King level forces' private rooms were also deathly silent at this moment. When they came back to their senses, they were naturally shocked. At the same time, they were curious about the identity of the person in room number 9. Was that person also from a God King level force? Great. In the room where the God King level Bloodblade Union's members were, the leader of the Bloodblade Union, a middle-aged man with a scar on his face, could not help but laugh. Do those God King level forces really think that they can control the situation? Karma comes quickly. The person who will punish them is coming. Now, not only the members of the Bloodblade Union were relieved, but the rest of the God King level forces were relieved too. Because they had been threatened like the members of the Bloodblade Union, they had not bid in the previous auction. Who on earth is the person in room 9? At the beginning, the first auction item was bid by the person in room number 9. At that time, we were still wondering if he was not worried about the revenge of the fourth master of the Zhong family. I think we have underestimated him. He has the guts to take out 1 million divine stones and openly challenge the God King level forces around Tianfeng City. There is no way he is afraid of the fourth master of the Zhong family. Now the fourth master of the Zhong family is probably terrified. Next, it will be the battle between the guest in room number 9 and the God King level forces. In the auction house, those who thought that the Zhou clan's auction would end with the Divine Emperor level cultivation method 6 God residual shadows formula, or with the starting price of 10,000 immortal stones, felt their hearts lift again. Someone was stirring up trouble. There was a show to watch. At the same time, rooms 1 to 5 quieted down. After a long while, the second elder of the Thousand Demon sect, Han Ligong, asked the leaders of the other 4 God King level forces, "What do we do now? Give up or continue?" Continue. Before the people from the other 3 Divine Emperor level influences could speak, the Hidden Fog sect's Blue Sea Windborn was the first to speak. Let's obtain the cultivation method first. After today's auction is over, I want to see just what sort of person this person is. As soon as Bihai Windborn spoke, the other 3 echoed, "When the time comes, let's go and see." At this moment, the tone of these people was dignified. 1 million divine stones. Han Ligong originally wanted to bid 1 million divine stones, but before he could open his mouth, Bihai Windborn's sound transmission sounded in his ears. "You are now representing several great forces. You can't be too stingy." So, he changed his bid at the last moment. 1 million. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the auction house boiled over. Some people were so excited that their faces flushed red. To be able to see a treasure of this price with my own eyes, it can be said that my life has not been in vain. Just as most of the people were looking at box number 9, thinking that the person in box number 9 would continue to raise the price. In the end, a voice sounded out once more. A peal of laughter rang out. "Old man, wouldn't it have been better if you had bid honestly from the start? You could have saved at least 1 million divine stones." "That's right. I forgot to tell you, the reason I bid with you is because I think it's fun. I don't care about a God King level cultivation method." Chapter 3630. Her bell-like laughter reverberated throughout the Zhou family's auction venue. In this quiet environment, she seemed especially playful and flamboyant. On the phone, did she think it was fun? Which family is she from? Many people in the auction hall looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. It should be noted that the other party was the second elder of the Million Demon sect, a high-level divine king. If the Hidden Mist Academy didn't intervene, he alone was enough to wipe out all the families and sects in Tianfeng City. But now, she was being played like a monkey. The whole place was silent. Even Zhou Yun, the elder of the Zhou family, who was standing on the auction stage, changed her expression slightly. When she looked at box number 9 again, her eyes were filled with shock and doubt. Now, she didn't feel happy at all because her Zhou clan's godly emperor level technique, the 6 God Afterimages technique, was sold for a sky-high price of 1,100,000 godly stones. This was because she knew that her Zhou clan wouldn't be able to get it, nor would they dare to. From the beginning to the end, only the Million Demon sect had been bidding. Obviously, they had reached a consensus with the other 4 godly emperor forces. Perhaps they had already discussed and agreed to share the godly emperor cultivation method. Under such circumstances, how could the Zhou family dare to take the divine stones from them? Little girl, you're courting death. In the box where the people from the Thousand Devils sect were, the second elder of the Thousand Devils sect, Han Ligong, had a series of changes in his expression after hearing Duan Xiaoyu's words. In the end, he could no longer hold himself back. His entire body shook as he broke through the window with a bang. The broken window flew out and was about to hit the heads of a group of people in the auction hall. Zhou Yun, who was standing on the auction stage, moved in time and shattered the broken window, turning it into a cloud of dust and dissipating into the air. Whoosh! Under everyone's gaze, Han Ligong, who had been blinded by anger, flew out of the window and came to the window of box number 9. Through the window, he stared at Duan Xiaoyu, who was sitting with Duan Lingtian. His intuition told him that it was this girl who had spoken. Second elder. At that moment, the expressions of the other people from the 10,000 demon sect fell, and they hurriedly left the room, wanting to stop Han Ligong. As for the other 4 people from the Divine Emperor level influences, besides the Hidden Fog sect's Morong Suifeng frowning and not saying anything, the other 3 people from the Divine Emperor level influences all hurriedly tried to dissuade Han Ligong with sound transmissions. Elder Han, don't be impulsive. Elder Han, before we figure out the other party's identity, don't be rash. She said she doesn't care about Divine Emperor level cultivation techniques. Maybe she has a shocking background. The persuasion of the 3 entered Han Ligong's ears. Only then did Han Ligong gradually calm down. Han Li coldly glanced at Duan Xiaoyu and snorted, preparing to leave. However, just as Han Ligong turned around, an indifferent female voice sounded from room 9. Han Ligong, is it? Your recklessness has already frightened my young miss. Now kneel down and kowtow to my young miss and apologize. This was the first time anyone had heard this voice. Previously, they had heard 2 voices coming from the 9th private room, but neither of them belonged to this person. When they heard the woman's words, they couldn't help but inwardly gasp. What kind of person was this great aunt? She actually wanted Han Ligong to kneel down and apologize in front of everyone? Han Ligong was the second elder of the Divine Emperor level sect, the Myriad Demon sect. He was also a high-level divine king. In their Tianfeng city, he was an existence that could do whatever he wanted. But now, this woman wanted him to kneel down and apologize to her young Mississippi. Han Ligong's body froze. After a moment, he came back to his senses. His gaze fell on the beautiful woman that he had ignored just now. His face was full of astonishment. You want me to kneel down and apologize to this little girl? As Han Ligong spoke, he pointed at Duan Xiaoyu. Just as Duan Xiaoyu saw Han Ligong pointing at her and frowning slightly poochy, a soft sound rang out almost at the same time as Han Ligong's voice sounded. In the next moment, everyone saw that the hand that Han Ligong had raised was cut off from the shoulder, disappearing into the void inch by inch, leaving no trace behind. Divine Emperor Expert. In box number 4, there was a timely exclamation of shock. As for the Hidden Fog sect's vice sect master Morong Suifeng, his pupils shrank, and he revealed a look of dread. At the same time, there was a lingering fear in his heart. This person is at least a middle divine sovereign. He might even be stronger. Mid-level divine emperor. Looking at their Hidden Fog sect, they only had 2 mid-level divine emperors. As for existences above mid-level divine emperors, their Hidden Fog sect didn't have any. Divine Emperor Expert? In box number 9, Duan Lingtian looked at Yu Qiushuan with surprise. Although he had guessed that whether it was Yu Qiushuan or Duan Xiaoyu, they were both existences above the Divine King realm, he never imagined that Yu Qiushuan was actually a Divine Emperor Expert. Moreover, when Yu Qiushuan attacked, the feeling she gave him was even more terrifying than the mid-level Divine Emperor of the Heavenly Illumination sect, Yi Beiyuan. This Yu Qiushuan is likely no weaker than that Yi Beiyuan. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. I don't want to repeat what I just said, either kneel or die. When Yu Qiushuan spoke again, her tone was somewhat impatient. Second elder. When the other people of the 10,000 demon sect saw Yu Qiushuan's methods and realized that she was a divine emperor expert, their expressions changed. At this time, they hurriedly reminded the 10,000 demon sect's second elder, Han Ligong, to prevent him from being killed. Han Ligong was greatly frightened and was in a daze. When he heard the reminder of the 10,000 demon sect's people, he came back to his senses. After learning of Yu Qiushuan's threat, his expression changed and his gaze changed. Finally, he clenched his teeth and knelt down in front of Duan Xiaoyu. He lowered his voice and said, Young miss, I offended you just now. I hope you can forgive me. You're not convinced? Duan Xiaoyu narrowed her eyes and smiled. I'm convinced. Han Ligong said with a trembling voice. She might not be his match, but she had a divine emperor expert by her side. Moreover, this divine emperor expert was more terrifying than the 10,000 demon sect's old ancestor. He knew that even the 10,000 demon sect would not dare to provoke the woman who attacked him, let alone him. It's good that you're convinced. Let's hear you bark a few times. Duan Xiaoyu said to Han Ligong with a smile. Bark like a dog. Han Ligong's face twitched. At this moment, he could feel the burning gazes of the people in the Zhou clan's auction hall on him. Obviously, they were waiting to see him make a fool of himself. However, what could he do now? Did he have any other choice? Woof. 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 In front of a group of people, Han Ligong, the second elder of the 10,000 demon sect, really started to bark like a dog. Moreover, without Duan Xiaoyu's permission, he did not dare to stop. At this moment, Han Ligong's heart was filled with regret. Why did he rush out for no reason? Was he looking for a beating? Of course, he also knew that it was because he did not know how terrifying the person beside the young lady was. If he knew that the young lady had a divine emperor expert, who was even more terrifying than the old ancestor of the 10,000 demon sect, he would not have dared to rush out even if he was given 1,000 guts. All right, I forgive you, Duan Xiaoyu said with a smile and satisfaction. Only then did Han Li heave a sigh of relief. At the same time, he stopped barking like a dog, and without waiting for a response, he left the Zhou family auction house with his tail between his legs. It seemed that he didn't even plan on taking the 6-god shadow afterimage technique that he had won. Now, Han Ligong wished he could kill everyone in the Zhou clan's auction hall. This was because he knew that after today, he would become the laughingstock of Tianfeng City and the surrounding area. Young lady, it's time for us to leave. At this moment, Yu Qiushuan also moved to Duan Xiaoyu's side. Before Duan Xiaoyu could react, she directly grabbed her hand and forcibly pulled her out of the window, appearing in front of everyone. When Duan Xiaoyu hurriedly wanted to see Duan Lingtian and greet Duan Lingtian, Yu Qiushuan had already taken her out of the Zhou clan's auction hall in a flash, disappearing before everyone's eyes. They appeared quickly and left quickly. Young Master Duan, we will meet again in the future. Everything that had happened before his eyes left Duan Lingtian somewhat dumbfounded. When Duan Xiaoyu was taken away by Yu Qiushuan, he heard Yu Qiushuan's voice transmission in a timely manner. Something urgent came up. So, I can only ask the young lady to leave without saying goodbye. Something urgent? Duan Lingtian did not believe Yu Qiushuan's words. Even if something urgent came up, Duan Xiaoyu would definitely have had time to explain it to him through voice transmission. Judging from the situation just now, it was obvious that Yu Qiushuan had taken Duan Xiaoyu away on a whim. Even Duan Xiaoyu did not know what was going on, so she did not have time to say goodbye to him. It was as if Yu Qiushuan did not want him to continue interacting with Duan Xiaoyu. What a strange woman. Duan Lingtian shook his head and also left. However, he did not leave through the window. Instead, he opened the door of the private room and left the way he came. When he left, he did not meet anyone. It was obvious that the others were still shocked by what had just happened. They did not have time to react. The auction had already ended, and it was time to disperse. I originally wanted to pay a visit to that divine emperor powerhouse, and the young lady she spoke of. I didn't expect them to leave directly. The leaders of the 4 divine emperor forces, including the Hidden Fog sect's vice sect master Morong Suifeng, had just stood up when they sat back down. They all sighed. Those 2 women obviously had extraordinary origins. If they could befriend them, it would only be beneficial for them. Unfortunately, they did not give them the chance. Private room number 6. Zheng family's 4th master Zheng Xi's face was as pale as paper. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead, as if he did not know how to stop. Divine Emperor Powerhouse? That beautiful woman is actually a Divine Emperor Powerhouse? Behind Zheng Xi, the old man who had gone to private room number 9 to spy on them was also pale with fright. His body was also trembling. Ling Tian wore reverent. Chapter 36-31. As Zheng Xi thought of how he had thought of taking revenge on the people in box number 9, he broke out in a cold sweat, and didn't stop for a long time. 4th Master, we should be glad that we haven't done anything to them yet. Otherwise, not just us, but our entire Zheng family would have been dragged into this mess. The old man standing behind Zheng Xi was also a member of the Zheng family. Yes, I didn't think they would be so terrifying. Zheng Xi wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead. Because of fear, his voice was trembling. But, 4th Master, only 2 of them left. There was a young man who didn't leave? That young man was very intimate with the young miss that the beautiful woman spoke of. That young miss was even holding the young man's hand. The old man was puzzled. Let's go. Let's go pay a visit to that young master. Hearing the old man's words, Zheng Xi's eyes brightened. He wanted to go to box number 9 and pay a visit to the young man who had bid on the first item of today's auction. However, before he did, the people from the other 4 Divine Emperor forces also reacted one step ahead of him and went to the 9th box. This was because after the 2 women left and sat down, they remembered that there wasn't just the 2 women in box number 9. There was also a young man with a young voice. But when they reacted and went to box number 9, they found that there was no one inside. Could it be that the young man's voice was also faked by one of the 2 women? Although some people guessed this, most people didn't think it was possible, because the 2 women didn't need to kneel down to be recognized by their voices. In particular, they soon found out from the Zhou clan's people in charge of this auction that there was indeed a young guest in box number 9. But that young guest had left first. If we had reacted faster, we might have been able to see that young master. The Hidden Fog sect's vice sect master, who was also the dean of Hidden Fog Academy, Morong Suifeng, let out a long sigh. The leaders of the other 3 God Emperor level forces also had looks of regret. Although they didn't know the specific identity of that young man, they heard from the people of the Zhou family auction that the young miss of the God Emperor level powerhouse was very intimate with the young man, and even called him Big Brother. It was clear that the young man's identity was also extraordinary. He might even have a higher status in the God Emperor level force. Duan Lingtian did not know that after he left the Zhou family auction house, many people went to box 9 to look for him. After he left the Zhou clan's auction, he returned to the inn directly. This was because the inn he had chosen was an inconspicuous one in Wen City. The organization it belonged to was only a small clan that was attached to a God King clan. As a result, no one discovered him. After the Zhou family's auction ended, the Zhou family and Zhong family went to their subordinate inns, and the other God King level clan's subordinate inns to inquire about Duan Lingtian. However, Duan Lingtian did not have many God King level subordinates staying in the inn. Therefore, even though they wanted to find Duan Lingtian, they could not find him. In the end, they could only give up. It was impossible for them to imagine that the young man they were looking for was only staying in a small inn in Tianfeng City. Naturally, the reason Duan Lingtian chose this inn was that he felt the environment was not bad. Moreover, it was located in a secluded area that was suitable for him to cultivate. He was unaware that the Zhou family and Zhong family were looking for him. After returning to the inn, Duan Lingtian consumed the 3 divine pill and prepared to break through to the intermediate deity stage. There was still half a month before the Hidden Fog Academy's recruitment. Half a month was enough for him to make a breakthrough. An intermediate deity, who's not even 2,700 years old. Even if I ignore my comprehension of profundities, my cultivation base alone is enough to set me apart in the Hidden Fog Academy, right? Duan Lingtian thought to himself. In the realms of gods, those who were not even 3,000 years old were considered very young. In those God-Emperor level forces, there might even be higher deities or God kings, let alone middle deities, who were younger than 3,000 years old. However, in Tianfeng City and the small places around it, it was extremely rare to find a middle deity who was younger than 3,000 years old. It was enough to cause a certain amount of commotion. The reason why it was called a stir rather than a huge one was because intermediate deities under 3,000 years old had appeared in the areas around Tianfeng City before. It was just that they were relatively rare. For example, in the current generation of the Hidden Fog Academy, there was a 10-star student who was less than 3,000 years old, who had yet to graduate. That student was accepted as a personal disciple by one of the higher-ups of the Hidden Fog sect before he even graduated. In the future, when he entered the Hidden Fog sect, he would be directly accepted as a disciple of that higher-up. Of course, Duan Lingtian did not know this. This was because even in Tianfeng City, no one knew that the Hidden Fog Academy had produced such a genius student. That genius student had only recently broken through to the intermediate deity stage. While Duan Lingtian was cultivating in seclusion, Tianfeng City was also very lively. The focus of everyone's discussion was the Zhou clan's auction 2 days ago. Have you heard? A God Emperor expert actually appeared in the Zhou clan's auction 2 days ago. I heard. It's said that the God Emperor expert is a beautiful woman. Beside her is a young lady whom she calls Mississippi. Her status is obviously higher than her. To have a God Emperor expert as a follower, even the daughter of the sect master of the Hidden Fog sect, the strongest God Emperor level faction near Tianfeng City, doesn't receive such treatment, right? It's not hard to guess. That young lady is at least from a peak God Emperor level faction. She might even be from a God Emperor level faction. I heard that the young lady has an elder brother who didn't leave with her at that time. Who knows, he might still be in Tianfeng City. Is that true? If I meet the young lady's elder brother and befriend him, won't I be able to reach the sky in a single bound? Most of the topics revolved around Duan Xiaoyu and Yu Qiushuan. Duan Lingtian was also frequently mentioned. Even in the inn where Duan Lingtian was staying, there were many people discussing this topic. Of course, Duan Lingtian, who was in seclusion, was completely unaware of this. Apart from this topic, there were more topics that revolved around the 10,000 demon sect's second elder, Han Ligong. I heard that the 10,000 demon sect's second elder, Han Ligong, knelt down and kowtowed at the Zhou clan's auction. The second elder of a God Emperor level sect, a higher god, is actually so cowardly. What a joke. TCH, you're just saying. If you were him, would you go against that God Emperor expert? Do you think that dignity is more important than your life? I think that the 10,000 demon sect's second elder, Han Ligong, is a smart person. He knows when to yield and when to stand tall. It's not worth it for a higher god king to lose his life over such a small matter. I think so too. Although the 10,000 demon sect's second elder, Han Ligong's performance at the Zhou clan's auction was disgraceful, most people in Skywind City could understand him. As the days passed, the topics related to the Zhou clan's auction gradually decreased. At this time, as the day of the Hidden Mist Academy's recruitment approached, more people began to talk about the Hidden Mist Academy. I heard that many of the God King level family's disciples are participating in the Hidden Mist Academy's recruitment this year. When have the disciples of the God King level families not participated in the recruitment? It's just that very few of them were accepted. This year, that kid from my family is also preparing to participate in the Hidden Mist Academy's recruitment test. I don't expect him to be accepted. I just hope that he won't embarrass himself too much. The Hidden Mist Academy's recruitment last year seemed to have over 1,000 people participating, but in the end, only 7 people were accepted. I'm afraid it will be the same this year. The Hidden Mist Academy was the most transcendent existence in Skywind City. This was because it was an academy established by a God Emperor level force, the Hidden Mist Sect. Those who performed well in the academy could even use it as a springboard to enter the Hidden Mist Sect. Many of the God King level families in Skywind City had entered the Hidden Mist Academy and even joined the Hidden Mist Sect. A small number of them even had a certain status in the Hidden Mist Sect. The God King level families in Skywind City didn't dare to neglect the Hidden Mist Academy's recruitment test. This was because once their family members fell into a disadvantage in the Hidden Mist Sect, it would be a great blow to their family. For example, if a disciple of the Zhou clan became an elder with a prominent status in the Hidden Mist Sect. As for the Zhou clan disciple, even if he did the best in the Hidden Mist Sect, he wouldn't be able to become an elder. In this case, the Zhou clan could completely suppress the Zhou clan. Over time, it wouldn't be difficult for the Zhou clan to destroy the Zhou clan. The Hidden Mist Sect wasn't the strongest God Emperor level force around Skywind City, because there were many God Emperor level forces that weren't weaker than them. However, they were the closest God Emperor level force to Skywind City. Because of this, Skywind City was basically under their control. This could be seen from the existence of the Hidden Mist Academy. Half a month's time passed very quickly. The tightly closed gates of the Hidden Mist Academy were officially opened in the early morning of this day. Anyone with a bone age of less than 2,800 years could enter the recruitment area of the Hidden Mist Academy after passing the bone age test. Others weren't allowed to follow them in. Daughter, do your best. Strive for a good ranking. Even if you can't do it this year, you still have next year. As long as your ranking keeps rising, you will have hope of entering the Hidden Mist Academy. In front of the gates of the Hidden Mist Academy, an old father was standing in front of his daughter, patiently guiding her. Son, if you can smoothly enter the Hidden Mist Academy, I can die in peace. Longer, do your best. When Duan Lingtian arrived at the gates of the Hidden Mist Academy, all he saw was the scene of seniors sending their juniors over. He couldn't help but recall the scene when he participated in the college entrance exam on Earth in his previous life. He was an orphan. When he participated in the college entrance exam, he went alone. At the school gates, he saw a group of students of the same age being sent over by their parents. Other than envy, there was only envy. Chapter 36-32. When Duan Lingtian had taken the college entrance exam on Earth in his past life, he had been envious of such a scene. However, now he was filled with emotions. In this life, he had a father, a mother, and a son. His family was perfect, and he had no regrets. The only regret he had was that his wife Kerr was not by his side. He had risked his life to travel from the 9 Serenities battlefield in the Devata realm to the realm battlefield and the mystic Handle land in the land of gods, so he could reunite with his family. As long as he could bring his wife Kerr back to the land of gods, his family would be reunited. After shaking his head, Duan Lingtian went to the place where they tested their bone age at the entrance of the Hidden Fog Academy. There were already some people waiting there. They were all wearing silver-white uniforms with a badge on their chests that read Hidden Fog. Around the word Hidden Fog, there was a star mark. There were more than 20 people in a row of tables and chairs. There were 5 spots where 5 people could test their bone age at the same time. Duan Lingtian glanced at the people. Among the 20 people, the ones with the most star marks on their chests had 7, and the ones with the least star marks had 4. It was not difficult to guess that they were all students of the Hidden Fog Academy. From 4-star to 7-star students, there were all kinds of students. Do you see that? Those are the students of the Hidden Fog Academy. If you can wear that uniform one day, your name will go down in history. As Duan Lingtian walked to the entrance, he could hear the seniors talking to the juniors behind him. At the same time, there were 5 long lines at the entrance. Duan Lingtian was at the back of one of the lines. He moved forward, as the number of people in front of him decreased. During this process, the people in front of him had also entered the Hidden Fog Academy after their bone age had been tested. The bone age test was not complicated. The Hidden Fog Academy had a special device. All one had to do was place one's hand on a formation plate, and the Hidden Fog Academy students would activate the formation plate to test one's bone age. Finally, it was Duan Lingtian's turn. Put your hands on me. He didn't even ask for Duan Lingtian's name. He just asked Duan Lingtian to put his hand on the disc array. The student in charge of Duan Lingtian's test stared at the disc array. When he saw that Duan Lingtian was nearly 2,700 years old, he looked at Duan Lingtian and said, "Sir, you are nearly 2,700 years old. According to the rules of the Hidden Fog Academy, you can only participate in the 10-star assessment." "I know." Duan Lingtian nodded calmly. This was something he already knew. In the Hidden Mist Academy, once a student reached the age of 3,000, they would either graduate or leave the academy. Many of them were expelled from the Hidden Fog Academy because they didn't manage to advance to a higher level. In the Hidden Mist Academy, once a 9-star student reached the age of 2,800, the academy would force them to take the 10-star student exam. If they passed, they would be promoted. If they failed, they would be expelled from the academy. The students of the Hidden Fog Academy were divided into 10 stars. From 1 star to 10 star, the requirements for 1-star students were the lowest, and 10-star students were the highest. The minimum requirement for a 1-star student was to be over 1,000 years old, be a 6-combination celestial emperor, and have comprehended 2 types of profundities to a particular law. If one had comprehended one of the 4 supreme laws, one would only need to comprehend 1 type of profundity. 2-star students couldn't be older than 1,200 years old, and the requirements were raised accordingly. 3-star students couldn't be older than 1,400 years old, and so on and so forth. 9-star students couldn't be older than 2,600 years old. 10-star students couldn't be older than 2,800 years old. Duan Lingtian's bone age was close to 2,700 years old under the effect of the bone-hiding pill. Therefore, he could only participate in the 10-star assessment. The 10-star assessment was the most difficult among the Hidden Fog Academy's recruitment process. At the very least, they had to become gods. Then they had to comprehend all the profound meanings they were good at, and fuse at least 2 types of profound meanings. If they wanted to comprehend the 4 supreme laws, they had to comprehend the fusion of 2 types of profound meanings. This level of assessment was not only for outsiders to participate in the Hidden Fog Academy's 10-star assessment, but it was also for the Hidden Fog Academy's 9-star students. If they couldn't reach this level, they wouldn't be able to become a 10-star student. There weren't many 10-star students in the Hidden Fog Academy. In the past 10 years, no outsiders have participated in the 10-star assessment. Due to this reason, the Hidden Fog Academy student who was in charge of testing Duan Lingtian was shocked when he found out Duan Lingtian's bone age was close to 2,700 years old. He's going to participate in the 10-star assessment? Duan Lingtian's actions weren't that big, but it had attracted the attention of a few people around him. As word of mouth spread, even more people were surprised. He's almost 2,700 years old. At this age, he can only participate in the 10-star assessment. Otherwise, he won't be able to enter the Hidden Fog Academy. It's been more than 10 years since someone this old participated in the Hidden Fog Academy's recruitment, right? Do you think he's confident? Under the doubtful gazes of the crowd, Duan Lingtian walked through the gate of the Hidden Fog Academy and slowly disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. After walking through the gate of the Hidden Fog Academy, Duan Lingtian saw a Hidden Fog Academy student standing at the end of the road, holding a huge signboard and guiding people to the place where the Hidden Fog Academy's recruitment test was held. The Hidden Fog Academy's assessment wasn't so inflexible that it couldn't be changed. Although the Hidden Fog Academy had strict requirements for every star, it could only be said that as long as one met the requirements and no accidents happened, they would be able to pass the corresponding assessment with a 100% success rate. Some people with other abilities, even if they were close to the requirements but didn't meet them, would still be able to smoothly pass the assessment. Otherwise, they would only need to show their cultivation and comprehension of the law. There was no need for any assessment at all. Under the guidance of the signboard, Duan Lingtian soon arrived at the place where the Hidden Fog Academy's recruitment test was held. It was a vast open space, and there were already many people standing there. In front of everyone were 10 roads leading in different directions, and there was a signboard at the intersection of each road. 1-star assessment area, 2-star assessment area, 3-star assessment area. Obviously, different roads led to different star levels of the assessment. I can choose at will? Does this mean that I can participate in the assessment of other star level students? I'm not sure if I can pass the 7-star assessment, but I'm sure I can pass the 6-star assessment. I just don't know if there's a need to test my bone age again. As soon as Duan Lingtian entered the open space, he heard a voice. It was a young man talking. You're thinking too much. There's still a need to test your bone age. Your age isn't right, so it's impossible for you to participate in that level of assessment. That's right. There are many people who want to enter the Hidden Fog Academy. You think you're the only smart one? It's better for you to obediently participate in the assessment of your level. It's said that in the past, there were people who did what you said, but without exception, they were all blacklisted by the Hidden Fog Academy. They can't participate in the assessment for the rest of their lives. Many people thought that they were lucky, but as soon as they thought about it, they were mercilessly suppressed by other people who knew about it. Duan Lingtian did not stay there for long. He walked to the road leading to the 10-star assessment area. There were more or less people entering the other roads. However, Duan Lingtian was the only one entering the road leading to the 10-star assessment area. This made him the focus of everyone's attention. Look, someone is participating in the 10-star assessment this year. It's been more than 10 years since an outsider participated in the 10-star assessment, right? I didn't expect such a fierce person to come this year. I don't know if he's fierce or not, but his courage is good. The 10-star assessment. It's said that people might die. Duan Lingtian naturally heard the discussions behind him, but he didn't care. Not to mention the current him. Even half a month ago before he obtained the 3 divine pill, he could easily participate in the 10-star assessment of the Hidden Fog Academy without any suspense. As for now, he didn't take it seriously. For him, this was just a formality. Although the Hidden Fog Academy can provide me with good resources, it's definitely not as good as the Hidden Fog sect. After entering the Hidden Fog Academy, the next step is to enter the Hidden Fog sect. Walking on the road, Duan Lingtian had a rough outline of the path he wanted to take next. To him, everything he wanted to do was to allow himself to grow quickly. Of course, on the road to growth, he wanted to be as stable as possible. He was very clear about the principle of the bird that sticks out gets shot first. If possible, it was better to grow in a low-key manner. After all, in the mystic handle land of the Plains of Gods, he was alone and had no one to rely on. Although he had met a young girl with an extraordinary background half a month ago, and she had even called him brother intimately, he knew that it was only because he looked like her brother. In the future, he might not have anything to do with her. Even if she had a divine emperor powerhouse by her side, even if she was a divine king or above, it had nothing to do with him. He could only rely on himself. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's thoughts were in a mess, and he didn't notice that there were 2 figures standing in the sky above him. Miss, we should go. If Duan Lingtian saw them, he would recognize them at a glance. They were the girl he met half a month ago, Duan Xiaoyu, and the beautiful woman beside her, Yu Qiushuan. At this moment, Yu Qiushuan was urging Duan Xiaoyu to leave. Aunt Xian, are we really not doing anything? Duan Xiaoyu looked at the purple figure below, a strange light flashing in her eyes. Chapter 36-33. Duan Lingtian knew nothing about what was happening above his head. Or rather, He didn't notice their existence at all. The difference in strength was too great. However, as he continued to walk forward, Duan Lingtian saw a quiet courtyard. The courtyard was filled with flowers and trees, and it was refreshing and pleasant. At this moment, there was a green-clad old man standing in the open space in the courtyard. He stood there with his hands behind his back, and his eyes closed as he rested his mind. Although the old man was old, he didn't lose his scholarly temperament. Just by standing there, he gave off an unfathomable feeling, as if he was a peerless scholar. When Duan Lingtian arrived outside the courtyard, the old man opened his eyes. As soon as he opened his eyes, his sharp gaze seemed to cross the barrier of space and fell directly on Duan Lingtian. It made Duan Lingtian feel like he had nowhere to hide. It was as if someone had seen through all of his secrets and desires. Of course, this was just an illusion. His secrets, and even god emperors and ultimate gods would not be able to see through his internal microcosm after he closed it off. Not to mention godly kings and godly emperors. Even godly emperors and ultimate gods would not be able to see through the microcosm. Senior, I'm here to participate in the 10-star assessment. Duan Lingtian stood outside the courtyard and looked at the old man from afar as he spoke in a clear voice. He didn't know why, but whether it was the old man in front of him or the courtyard he was in, they gave him a fleeting feeling. It was as if everything was just a fleeting firework that could appear and disappear at any time. It's been more than 10 years since an outsider participated in the 10-star assessment. The old man's deep gaze met Duan Lingtian's, as if he could see through Duan Lingtian's heart. Little guy, I wish you good luck. Almost as soon as the old man finished speaking, he flicked his sleeve, and a small 3-story pagoda flew towards Duan Lingtian. It grew bigger in the blink of an eye and enveloped Duan Lingtian. It looked as if it was suppressing Duan Lingtian. In fact, when the old man threw the pagoda over, Duan Lingtian guessed that the 10-star assessment of the Hidden Fog Academy would be held in this pagoda. It was impossible for the old man to attack him. First of all, he had no enmity with the old man. Moreover, this was the place where the Hidden Fog Academy recruited 10-star students. As the host of the assessment, it was impossible for the old man to attack him personally. It turned out that it was just as Duan Lingtian thought. When the exquisite pagoda flew over and began to expand, the old man's voice resonated in Duan Lingtian's ears. This is the 3-story tower of trials that the Hidden Mist Academy has prepared for 10-star students. As long as you pass the trial, you'll become a 10-star student of the Hidden Mist Academy. The Hidden Mist Academy had different tests for students of different star ranks. For 10-star students, the Hidden Fog Academy even prepared the Divine Weapon Tower of Trials. This Divine Artifact Tower of Trial was created by a Divine Artifact Master of the Hidden Fog Sect, which was located behind the Hidden Fog Academy. A Divine Artifact Master was actually a weapon refiner, but because they could refine divine artifacts, they were not only called weapon refiners, but also Divine Artifact Masters. This was the same as a Divine Pill Master. A Divine Pill Master was an alchemist who could refine divine pills. In the realms of gods, there were some alchemists who couldn't refine divine pills. These alchemists were not qualified to be called Divine Pill Masters. In the Tower of Trials, if you're not careful, you'll be in danger of dying. If you can't hold on, just shout for help and I'll get you out. Remember to shout in time. If you're too late, I might not be able to save you. The old man continued. Later, the Tower of Trials will extend a suction force and envelop you. Don't resist and let it suck you in. Once you're in, the trial will begin. Almost as soon as the old man finished speaking, Duan Lingtian felt a powerful suction force coming from the Tower of Trials. Of course, although the suction force was strong, Duan Lingtian could still resist it. But after listening to the old man's words, he did not resist. He allowed the suction force to suck him into the Tower of Trials. Whoosh! After the Tower of Trials sucked Duan Lingtian in, it floated at a low altitude. After Duan Lingtian entered the Tower of Trials, the originally dim doors and windows of the Tower of Trials changed a little. To be more precise, there were some changes on the first floor. I wonder, if this little fellow will be able to clear half of the second floor's hurdles. The old man glanced at the Tower of Trials, and then closed his eyes. Of the 3 floors of the Tower of Trials, one only needed to pass 2 floors to reach the 3rd floor, and light up the candles on the 3rd floor, to pass the 10-star test, and become a 10-star student of the Hidden Fog Academy. Now after Duan Lingtian entered the 3rd floor of the Tower of Trials, the 1st floor lit up with a faint light. That was the sign that someone had entered the 1st floor of the Tower of Trials. As Duan Lingtian passed through the tests on the 1st floor of the Tower of Trials, the candles grew brighter and brighter. When it reached a certain level, it meant that he had passed all the tests on the 1st floor of the Tower of Trials, and could proceed to the 2nd floor. That senior didn't tell me how to pass the 10-star test? Pass all 3 floors of the Tower of Trials. After Duan Lingtian was sent into the Tower of Trials, he appeared in a vast environment. It was a completely different world. The surroundings were shrouded in a dense fog. Whoosh, whoosh. As the fog around him fluctuated, Duan Lingtian could clearly feel the fluctuations of the array's power. Then, one figure after another appeared in the array and charged at him. It was a group of array spirits with the strength of a lesser god. There are 10 of them. In the blink of an eye, 10 human-shaped phantoms surrounded Duan Lingtian. The number of array spirits was fully revealed. Buzz! One of the array spirits took the lead and attacked first. A flaming blade flashed, and at the same time, he displayed various profundities of the law of fire one by one. During this process, it was not difficult to see that he had mastered all the profundities of the law of fire to greater mastery. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. After the first array spirit made his move, the other 9 also made their moves. Although the laws they comprehended were different, they all had one thing in common, and that was that they all comprehended all the profundities of a certain law to greater mastery. However, none of the array spirits had comprehended the fusion profundities. It's normal that the first hurdle on the first level of the trial tower is simple. Although Duan Lingtian felt that the hurdle in front of him was meaningless, he also knew that it was not up to him to decide whether it was meaningful or not. No matter how meaningless it would consume a certain amount of divine power for an ordinary person. Destroy them. Duan Lingtian glanced indifferently at the 10 formation spirits that were charging at him from all directions. He casually lifted his hand and slapped out. Instantly, the raging space energy seemed to have formed a small space storm in the blink of an eye. It swept through the air and destroyed the 10 formation spirits along with their attacks. To Duan Lingtian, passing the first hurdle on the first level of the trial tower was a piece of cake. Then in just a few breaths' time, the second hurdle appeared. It was still the same spot, and there were still array spirits. However, this time, the array spirits were not in human form. Instead, they were array spirits in the form of various beasts. They were more powerful than the previous array spirits, and there were more of them. However, to Duan Lingtian, it was no different from the first hurdle. Outside the trial tower, the old man was originally resting with his eyes closed, but in the end, he could not help but open his eyes and look at the trial tower in front of him. In the blink of an eye, he found that the candlelight on the first level of the trial tower was flashing at an extremely exaggerated speed. Every time it flashed, the pearl light would become brighter. At first, he was not surprised that the candlelight would become brighter after a few breaths' time. However, after a few times, the speed of the candlelight becoming brighter was still as fast as before. This made him a little surprised. It seems that after more than 10 years, the first outsider to participate in our Hidden Fog Academy's 10-star assessment is quite capable. With the strength he has shown so far, it should not be difficult for him to pass half of the second level. A rare look of anticipation appeared on the old man's face. Although more than 10 years was not a long time. However, for him, who was mainly in charge of the Hidden Fog Academy's 10-star assessment, it was rare for an outsider to participate in the assessment for more than 10 years. I don't know if he can continue to insta-kill the last few array spirits on the first level. If he can insta-kill all of them, then he will have a chance to pass the second level and enter the third level. The anticipation in the old man's eyes grew even stronger. Every year, during the Hidden Fog Academy's recruitment assessment, he would wait here for someone to participate in the 10-star assessment. However, after waiting for more than 10 years, no one came, so he could not help but feel bored. Now, someone finally came, and his performance so far was outstanding. Naturally, he could not help but pay attention. After a few breaths' time, the light on the first level of the trial tower flashed again, and the old man's eyes also lit up. Not bad. After a few more breaths' time, the light increased again, and the old man could not help but smile and nod. When the same light appeared again, the old man's eyes flashed again. When it appeared again, the old man's face finally showed surprise. The last hurdle. Finally, they reached the last checkpoint of the Tower of Trials. The old man's expression turned slightly serious. If possible, he naturally hoped that the young man who entered the Tower of Trials could continue to insta-kill the last checkpoint of the first floor of the Tower of Trials. Once he could do that, he would have a great chance of passing the second level of the trial tower and entering the third level. He would then pass the Hidden Fog Academy's 10-star assessment and officially become a 10-star student of the Hidden Fog Academy. I hope this kid can do it. Even in the Hidden Fog Academy, there hasn't been a new 10-star student in the academy for 30 years. At this moment, the old man was also looking forward to it. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.